Chapter 450, Has Inky Rain really helped her? Just then, Duan Chaoga shuddered violently. Pitch. A sound of something deflating came out of Chaoga. And it went on and on. She was releasing gas. It caught Yi Yifei right in the face and she was dumbfounded. Cough, cough, wretch. Yi Yifei was so disgusted that she threw up. Hua Yin and the others also covered their mouths and noses and rushed out of the room. That stinks. Holy crap. Has Duan Chaoga saved all that for 5 years before farting all at once? Is she trying to kill someone with it? That gas has to be toxic. Once they were out in the corridor, they threw up everything they had eaten. The clamor in Inky Rain room even startled the waitress a short distance away. Yan Yu, the waitress for Inky Rain room, arrived at the scene with a frown. What's going on? Yan Yu asked coldly. Yi Yifei gestured at the room. Miss Yan Yu, I'm so glad you're here. There are 2 people releasing toxic gas in there. We don't know how they got in. Please take them away. Yan Yu frowned and stared at Yi Yifei with brooding eyes. Someone is really releasing toxic gas in there. Miss Yan Yu, will it ruin the painting? It was said that each of the paintings in the building contained a set of sword stances, and some even said that His Royal Highness had created the paintings himself. No one could afford to have them damaged. Yan Yu could act as arrogantly as she wanted in front of Yi Yifei, but that painting was worth 100 times more than her own life. She pushed the door open and entered the room at once. However, Yan Yu found no such toxic gas when she walked in. She only saw 2 girls sitting cross-legged with their eyes closed in front of Inky Rain. They were cultivating. World Tower's rules stipulated that no one was to be disturbed while they were cultivating. Yan Yu was about to back out of the room when Yi Yifei rushed in. Miss Yan Yu, the gas is really toxic. And those 2. Where's that gas you were talking about? Yan Yu cast a stern look at Yi Yifei. What? Yi Yifei was dumbfounded when she looked inside. Duan Chaoga had farted for so long just then and the smell was abominable. But now, nothing seemed to be out of place. What Yi Yifei didn't see was a tiny tiger in Feng Wu's sleeve, which seemed to be drunk on self-satisfaction at that moment. Yan Yu cast a stern look at Yi Yifei and said in a cold voice, Miss Yi, as a young lady from a respectful family, you should be more discreet in your behavior. Making a scene like that is highly inappropriate. A waitress was lecturing her now. Had it been some other place, Yi Yifei would have erupted with rage by now. However, this was World Tower and she didn't dare cross the line one bit. Her only option was to accept the reprimand. Sorry. Yan Yu turned to leave. However, Yi Yifei turned to look at the 2 friends, and to her surprise. Shit. Duan Chaoga, who had to weigh around 100 kilograms before, now looked only 75 kilograms. She had lost 25 kilograms of her weight by releasing all that toxic gas. What did that mean? Had Inky Rain really helped her? Despite her reluctance, Yi Yifei had to recognize the fact that Duan Chaoga had learned something from the painting, or she would never have eliminated all that toxin and lost so much weight. She then realized that she had brought Duan Chaoga here herself to humiliate the latter. As it turned out, she had helped the girl instead. Yi Yifei almost had a heart attack. Miss Yan Yu. Yi Yifei called after the graceful waitress. Chapter 451, The Feng Wu he knew. The cold, arrogant waitress stopped, turned around, and eyed Yi Yifei impatiently. Summoning up her courage, Yi Yifei gestured at Feng Wu and Duan Chaoga. I don't know who they are and I have no idea how they got in. Miss Yan Yu, please kick them out. Yan Yu stared at Yi Yifei as if the latter was out of her mind. I'm not blind. Weren't you the one who brought them in? They were making quite a lot of noise over here in Inky Rain room, which caught the attention of people in Moon room and Pine room, and they came out to look. At this hour of the day, the adults were all at work and most of the customers here were their kids. Why, isn't it Yi Yifei? A teenager stuck his head out of Moon room. He was Jin Yuntao, the son of the Commander General of the Imperial City. The children of the owner of an entrance card could only gain access to the floor one level below what the owner could enter, which meant that Jin Yuntao's father was a third-ranked official as well, but a military officer. Jin Yuntao and Yi Yafei both went to Imperial College, but the two of them had been enemies since they were little. Seeing Yi Yafei's predicament, Jin Yuntao's first reaction was to laugh at her. Yi Yafei threw a dirty look at Jin Yuntao and ignored him. She said to Yenyu, "Miss Yenyu, I don't know who those people are, they just snuck in after us. I thought World Tower didn't allow uninvited people inside." Yi Yafei thought that Duan Chaoga had only been pretending at first, so she hadn't thought much of it. However, Duan Chaoga had just lost 25 kilograms like a deflating balloon in front of her eyes. That was so frightening. Yi Yafei wouldn't be so worried if Duan Chaoga was on her own, but Feng Wu was with her. After all, Feng Wu used to be such an unbelievable genius. What if she learned something from Inky Rain and got her abilities back? The more Yi Yafei thought about it, the more flustered she became. She had to throw Feng Wu out. Yenyu frowned. Something like this had never happened before. "Are you sure you don't know them?" "Yes. I have no idea how they got in." Yi Yafei confirmed. Yenyu nodded. "Fine, I can throw them out, but cultivators are not to be disturbed and I can only do that after they finish." "What? I don't believe this." Yi Yafei couldn't bear the thought of Feng Wu getting an epiphany here. It would be worse than killing her. Yenyu ignored her completely and left. Yi Yafei was speechless. "Fine. World Tower won't do anything about it. I'll do it myself." "Feng Wu, get out of here." Pissed, Yi Yafei charged into the room and reached for Feng Wu's head. She was going to grab Feng Wu's hair and drag her out. Jin Yuntao didn't pay much attention at first and he was going to go back to Moon Room to resume his cultivation. After all, it was quite expensive to rent a room in World Tower. But what did he hear? Feng Wu. As in the Feng Wu he knew. Xiao Wu was back in the Imperial capital. Yi Yafei's hand was almost on Feng Wu's head when Jin Yuntao rushed in, grabbed Yi Yafei by the shoulder, and asked in a cold voice, "What did you just call her?" "None of your business." "Jin Yuntao, get lost." Yi Yafei tried to push Jin Yuntao out of the room. However, Jin Yuntao was close enough to see Feng Wu's profile, which he found quite familiar. He then ran to the other side to look at Feng Wu from the front. Chapter 452, How Dare You Bully Xiao Wu? He had heard right. It really was Feng Wu. Yi Yafei was going to grab Xiao Wu's hair. How dare she? Feng Wu had saved his life once. Jin Yuntao flared up. Yi Yafei, how dare you do that to Xiao Wu? Yi Yafei smirked. Xiao Wu? I didn't know you two were that close. Well, she's useless now and I can do whatever I want to her. Get out of my way. After that, Yi Yafei darted a look at Hui Yin. Do it. Both Jin Yuntao and Yi Yafei got into Imperial College last year and were on par in strength, which was why Yi Yafei could fend off Jin Yuntao. Stop it. Jin Yuntao was exasperated. However, he hadn't come here alone. He had brought two classmates with him today. They were his roommates Yi Zhou and Yuan Ming. Neither of the two were locals of the Imperial capital. They were from other provinces and their families were less well off than Jin Yuntao's. But Jin Yuntao had brought them to Moon Room with him, which showed how close the three of them were. As expected, the two teenagers rushed over and shielded Feng Wu and Duan Chaoga from Yi Yafei. Yi Yafei was furious. That damn Jin Yuntao. Yi Zhou and Yuan Ming were Jin Yuntao's classmates from Imperial College as well as hers. Needless to say, Hui Yin and the other three, who had yet to get into Imperial College, weren't their match at all. Yi Yafei was too exasperated to say a word. She had brought Feng Wu and Duan Chaoga here to humiliate the pair, but now, she was getting bullied herself. Yi Zhou. Yuan Ming. Are you two idiots? I'm from an influential family of the Imperial capital. How dare you two provincial yokels do this to me? You're biting off more than you can chew. Yi Zhou's and Yuan Ming's fathers were local officials or business owners who were famous figures in their own provinces. However, they were nobodies in a place like the imperial capital. Seeing the two teenagers hesitate at her words, Yi Yifei smirked. Get out of my way. Jin Yuntao snorted. I'll take full responsibility for what happens here today. Yi Yifei, you're not doing anything to Xiao Wu. Go to hell. Yi Yifei and Jin Yuntao clashed with each other. However, they were only able to exchange one blow. Smack! They were separated by a single sweep of a hand. Yan Yu showed up out of nowhere, taking Yi Yifei in one hand and Jin Yuntao in the other. The next second, both teenagers were tossed onto the floor and Yan Yu said in a cold voice, "Fighting is forbidden in World Tower and the entrance cards for both your families will be downgraded by one floor." Questions? Yi Yifei and Jin Yuntao glared at each other, but both were equally petrified. They had managed to get into Imperial College after a highly competitive exam. They thought they were quite capable cultivators already. But as it turned out, even a waitress on the 5th floor of World Tower could handle them as if they were chickens. Jin Yuntao lowered his head first. No. Despite her burning hatred, Yi Yifei could only grit her teeth. No. Yan Yu snorted. Everyone out. You're all banned from World Tower for 3 months. Now. Yi Yifei was so frustrated. Her plan hadn't even started yet and Feng Wu had yet to be punished by young Master Mu. As part of her plan, Yi Yifei had gotten someone to tell young Master Mu about what had happened in Elegant Ink Gallery, and that Feng Wu was in World Tower at the moment. Young Master Mu should thus be arriving shortly. Chapter 453. Gosh. I've made progress. Young Master Mu would humiliate Feng Wu severely and word would get out. After that, Feng Wu would be so thoroughly discredited that she would wish she were dead. Yi Yifei had everything planned out, but she didn't know that things rarely went as planned. This Jin Yuntao just decided to pop out of nowhere and he had almost ruined everything for her. Yi Yifei darted a look at Huayin. Huayin nodded and slipped away that she needed to find young Master Mu ASAP. Feng Wu had to be punished here, where they would have the largest audience and attract the most attention. Yi Yifei stalled. Fine, we'll leave. But shouldn't they leave as well? Yi Yifei pointed at Feng Wu and Duan Chaoga. Yan Yu frowned. Yi Yifei said, they snuck in without an entrance card. If they aren't punished for this, other people will copy them and World Tower's rules will be as good as empty words. Silence. Yan Yu cast a stern look at Yi Yifei. Yi Yifei's stomach lurched, but she was delighted. She would insist that she didn't know Feng Wu and that the latter had snuck in. I know them. Jin Yuntao smirked at Yi Yifei. I invited them here. Yi Yifei glared at Jin Yuntao. What? You got a problem? Jin Yuntao snickered. The two of them were going to start fighting again when. Rumble. The entire Inky rain room shook slightly. Everyone turned to look at the two girls sitting there cross-legged. That was. As it turned out, Duan Chaoga was the first to speak. OMG. I can't believe this. Looking down, Chaoga saw that the enormous dress that used to stretch tightly around her body had become loose. Then, she realized that her body and limbs were much slimmer. Oh God. Shit. Chaoga jumped to her feet, spun around, and burst into tears of joy. I've lost weight. I'm thinner. Sob. God knew how desperate she had been during the past 5 years because of her weight. The more she tried, the fatter she became. There were times when she had wanted to kill herself. Although she was still overweight, it was so much better than before. Xiao Wu. Chaoga wanted to wrap her arms around Xiao Wu and cry for 3 days in a row. Xiao Wu was her angel. Turning around, Chaoga saw the astonished looks on the faces of the others. Ha ha ha. I've lost weight. I have. Yi Yifei, Didn't you say that I'd never be able to do it? Well, I did. Resting her hands on her waist, Xiao raised her chin. Is that your priority? Yi Yafei felt like crying. You leveled up? Yi Yafei asked tentatively through gritted teeth. She hoped that Duan Xiaoga's answer would be no. Only then did Xiaoga realize something. All her attention had been on her weight loss and she hadn't examined her own cultivation level. Xiaoga had reached level 9 when she was 8, but had dropped to level 6 in the past 5 years. No way! Xiaoga cried out in surprise. I'm level 7 now. I've made progress. Finally. Going backward was much worse than remaining stagnant. After all these years, Xiaoga was finally moving forward in her cultivation again. One level wasn't enough, but it meant that Xiaoga was back on track. Oh God! I'm a level higher. I can't believe it. Xiaoga jumped around in excitement. Chapter 454, An Invitation to the Imperial Guards. Xiao Wu was such an angel. Becoming Xiao Wu's friend had to be the luckiest and happiest thing to happen to her. Sob, Xiao Wu. Xiaoga burst into tears of excitement. Meanwhile, Yi Yafei and her friends looked at one another with bitter regret. Had they known that coming to World Tower would lead to Duan Xiaoga's breakthrough, they would never have brought her here. It was so frustrating. What infuriated Yi Yafei more was that Yan Yu, who had been so arrogant, went up to Duan Xiaoga with an appreciative smile. Miss Duan? Yes. Your age, please. 13. Yan Yu smiled even more broadly. Miss Duan, you're the third cultivator who has ever comprehended Inky reign. Would you like to join the Imperial Guards? Rumbled. Yi Yafei thought her head was going to explode. Duan Xiaoga was invited to join the Imperial Guards? Those were His Royal Highness's personal guards. Jun Lin Yuan's personal guards. Talk about a meteoric rise. No matter how prestigious or respected a family was, no one could bribe their kids' way into the Imperial Guards. Because His Royal Highness had said, the only thing that qualified a person for the Imperial Guards was their capability. Families and connections meant nothing. Hence, talented young people all over the continent were accepted into the Imperial Guards and worked for His Royal Highness. Many graduates of Imperial College applied for the Imperial Guards, but even for them, the possibility of getting in was quite low. However, those that did get in would start off as a low-ranked military officer at the very least. Imperial College took in 100 new students each year, but the Imperial Guards only recruited 10 new members at most. One could only imagine how valuable a position in the Imperial Guards was. And that explained why Yi Yafei was so full of regret now. Even Jin Yuntao looked at Duan Xiaoga enviously. Joining the Imperial Guards wouldn't interfere with one's studies at Imperial College. Once they graduated, they would become preliminary officers right away. That was the dream job for countless young people. Yan Yu thought Xiaoga would say yes without hesitation. However, Xiaoga tilted her head and asked, as in His Royal Highness's Imperial Guards? Yes. Do I still get to walk around as I do now if I join the Imperial Guards? There will be cultivation tasks to fulfill, so you won't get much free time. Can Xiao Wu join the Imperial Guards with me? Yan Yu looked at Feng Wu and found no spiritual essence in the latter. She shook her head decisively. No. I'm not going, then. Xiaoga shook her head and turned down the offer. She had turned it down. Duan Xiaoga had refused to join the Imperial Guards. That was a first. Joining the Imperial Guards would bring one's entire clan so many benefits. Yi Yafei stared at Duan Xiaoga as if the latter had lost her mind. Was she nuts? So many people in the Imperial capital were after those 10 places and she had turned it down. What was she thinking? Jin Yuntao swallowed. Xiaoga, don't be so reckless. That's a very rare opportunity. Aren't you going to think about it? Xiaoga shook her round little head. No. But why? Everyone was bewildered. Yan Yu was equally confused. Such an opportunity would make anyone feel over the moon, but this girl had refused it outright. How odd. Xiao looked at Feng Wu, then said, I'm going wherever Xiao Wu goes. Why should I join if Xiao Wu isn't going to? I'm not an idiot. Chapter 455, Xiao Wu. I've lost weight. You're not an idiot. That's exactly what you are. Yi Yifei was so thrilled to hear Xiaoga's refusal. Yan Yu frowned. You mean it? Yes. Duan Xiaoga nodded earnestly. Idiot, Yi Yifei murmured. Xiaoga glared at her. You're the idiot. Joining the Imperial Guards would be great, but could they find the antidote for degenerative powder? Could they stop her cultivation level from dropping? Could they help her lose weight? Could they point her in the right direction in comprehending Inky Rain? Xiao Wu had done all that with the point of a finger and a single sentence. And those people called her an idiot? She really would be one if she joined the Imperial Guards. Yan Yu frowned and darted a displeased look at Feng Wu. The girl had no spiritual essence and she wasn't cultivating. What was the point of sitting in that position? Xiaoga had declined the offer because of Feng Wu. Hence, Yan Yu had a poor first impression of Feng Wu. With so many people standing around and making so much noise, even a real cultivator wouldn't be able to continue, let alone someone like Feng Wu who was only pretending. How could she keep up the act? Yan Yu shook her head and found Feng Wu even more unpleasant. But was Feng Wu sitting there for nothing? Of course not. She had made some progress before she left home this morning, and had become a level 2 spiritual grandmaster. Feng Wu's cultivation had turned very efficient since becoming a spiritual grandmaster. She was able to point Xiaoga in the right direction of Inky Rain and Xiaoga was able to break through in such a short period of time. Of course, Feng Wu herself could benefit from the painting as well. Feng Wu was on the threshold of level 3 of the spiritual grandmaster stage already, but she couldn't make her breakthrough when so many people were around. Otherwise, everyone would know that she had regained her abilities. She wasn't strong enough yet to keep everyone she cared about safe, and exposing them to potential threats was too risky. Hence, she stopped practicing and opened her eyes. Xiao Wu. Xiaoga was the person most excited to see Feng Wu open her eyes. She jumped into Feng Wu's arms and hopped around with Feng Wu. Xiao Wu, guess what? I've lost weight. I have. Feng Wu examined Xiaoga. She was right. Her face was much thinner than before, and looking down, the black dress that used to stretch tightly around her body had become very loose. Feng Wu nodded. Good. You've gotten rid of a third of the toxin already. Yes. Xiaoga was almost in tears. Look, Xiao Wu, I made a breakthrough as well. I'm level 7 now. Level 7 was nothing for Xiaoga, for she used to be a level 9 spiritual master. But it meant so much to her now. Xiao Wu, Xiaoga wrapped her arms around Feng Wu and wouldn't let go. Feng Wu patted her on the head. There. So many people are watching. Don't cry. Xiaoga wiped away her tears and giggled. She had been a cheerful and optimistic girl before. Now that the most depressing period was over, she lit up like a ray of sunshine after a heavy rain. Hi, Xiao Wu. Jin Yuntao greeted Feng Wu. Feng Wu knew nothing of the outside world when she was in a meditative state, but Little Phoenix had told her everything, and Feng Wu learned of how Jin Yuntao and his friends had helped her. Chapter 456 Feng Wu, I'd like to see what you can do now. Feng Wu greeted them with a nod. Before she could speak, Yi Yifei smirked. Feng Wu, you should be ashamed of yourself. Ashamed? Feng Wu was bemused. Yi Yifei snickered. Do you know that Xiaoga just turned down an opportunity to join the Imperial Guards because of you? You've ruined Xiaoga's future. Aren't you a little bit ashamed? That was actually what Yan Yu wanted to say. As expected, Yan Yu turned her gaze on Feng Wu, looking rather displeased. Of course not, Feng Wu said matter-of-factly. The others were speechless. It was the Imperial Guards. Could Feng Wu be any more pretentious? Tch, Yi Yifei snickered. Feng Wu, you just can't live with the fact that you can't cultivate anymore, can you? You're jealous of Chaoga's talent and that's why you're stopping her from joining the Imperial Guards. You're taking her down with you. You're the most selfish and narrow-minded person I've ever met. I don't know what Duan Chaoga is thinking, following you around like this. At those words, more people cast stern looks at Feng Wu. Before Feng Wu said anything, Chaoga flared up. She glared at Yi Yifei. What's wrong with you? It's none of your business whether or not I join the Imperial Guards. Shut up already. Who the hell are you to me? Since when does your opinion count? With Feng Wu to back her up, Duan Chaoga became that fierce, lively girl again. Seeing Chaoga like this, Feng Wu smiled with relief. God knew how her heart had ached for Chaoga when she found the latter in Elegant Ink Gallery in such a miserable state. Yi Yifei went scarlet with embarrassment. You! Yan Yu stared at Feng Wu with a solemn and sincere look on her face. Miss Feng, may I have a word? Of course. Yan Yu said earnestly. Duan Chaoga made a breakthrough from comprehending Inky Rain, which has earned her a position in the Imperial Guards. That's a very rare honor. Are you sure you're going to sabotage that wonderful opportunity for her? Miss Feng, that's such a selfish thing to do. Instantly, all eyes were on Feng Wu. Chaoga wanted to speak up, but Feng Wu stopped her. She turned to Yan Yu and said calmly, Chaoga will be 1,000 times better staying with me than if she joined the Imperial Guards. How ungraciously immodest. Yan Yu gave a wave of her hand, and the next second, everyone felt as if they were being sucked into a maelstrom. They stumbled and almost lost their footing. Yan Yu then drew back her hand and everything was back to normal. She stared at Feng Wu and said earnestly, I'm just a foot soldier in the Imperial Guards, and that's all I'm going to say. Feng Wu's pupils contracted. Yan Yu was at least a level 2 spiritual grandmaster and she was a mere soldier in the Imperial Guards. Jun Linyuan had so many talented people working for him. Just then, footsteps came from outside. Sister Yan Yu, has someone pissed you off? I see you've shown your muscle. Young Master Mu's voice rang out. Feng Sun was a frequent customer of World Tower, and as Feng Sun's buddy, young Master Mu showed up just as often. Hence, all the employees of World Tower knew him. Young Master Mu. Hearing that careless chuckle, Yi Yifei's eyes lit up. Young Master Mu was finally here. Feng Wu, I'd like to see what you can do now. Yan Yu turned around, saw young Master Mu, and greeted him with a nod. Young Master Mu waved her off, went up to them in an arrogant manner, and darted a glance at Chaoga. Chapter 457, but Miss Feng Wu doesn't have an entrance card to World Tower. Feng Wu was standing behind Chaoga and young Master Mu didn't see her when he walked in. Young Master Mu, Yi Yifei said in an ingratiating tone. I was told that the person throwing mud at Elegant Ink Gallery is right here. Step out now and let me see your face. Young Master Mu entered the room in a familiar manner. He had a large entourage and someone had already set down a chair for him. Yi Yifei pointed at Chaoga and Feng Wu with an indignant expression, but she was smirking inwardly. Those two were the ones who slandered Elegant Ink Gallery. We saw it with our own eyes and we can attest to it. Really? Crossing his legs, young Master Mu found a comfortable position in the chair and shook his leg. He looked sidelong at Chaoga. Young lady, you guys are pretty bold to discredit Elegant Ink Gallery like that. Chaoga didn't like this guy at all and she glared back at him. Oh my, young Master Mu glanced at Chaoga out of the corner of his eye. Someone's pissed. Don't tell me you've never heard of my name before. The young Master Mu who had friends in both high and low places was capable of getting a third-ranked official fired. Everyone would greet him with great respect. Chaoga glowered at young Master Mu. You, come here, Mu beckoned Chaoga over. I've never met someone this ugly and this grumpy. This ugly? Xiao was furious and she went on glaring at young Master Mu. Why, that's a very peevish girl over there. Do you have any idea who I am? What's with that attitude? You, slap her. Mu gave a wave of his hand. Yi Yafei smiled in satisfaction. Elegant Ink Gallery was young Master Mu's property and those two girls were finished. She was sure of it. Meanwhile, two stalwart men went up to Xiao and were ready to slap her. Just then young Master Mu, very impressive, said a cold voice behind Xiao. Mu snorted. You're with her. Very well. Slap her, too. How dare these people slander Elegant Ink Gallery? His brother Feng III was the biggest shareholder of the business. Young Master Mu was very upset. Yi Yafei laughed so hard that she had a stomachache. Feng Wu, you're so doomed. Hua Yin and the others exchanged looks and they all gloated at Feng Wu's predicament. Jin Yuntao was exasperated. He quickly stepped out and stood in front of Feng Wu, blocking her from young Master Mu's sight. He then cupped his hands at the young lord. Xiao is too young to understand what she's done. I'll make them apologize to you. Young Master Mu, please forgive them for my sake. Why, isn't it Jin Yuntao? Mu recognized the teenager, smiled a little, and waved him off. Mind your own business. There, out of my way. After that, young Master Mu rose to his feet and went up to Xiao. He then sensed a pair of cold eyes on him. Turning in the direction of that gaze, young Master Mu saw a face, which scared him out of his wits. Meanwhile, in northern Feng Mansion, the Crown Prince glanced at Feng as he marched out. Feng walked behind him and reported in a level tone, Miss Feng Wu was here because she needed young Lord Feng to buy a manor on her behalf. A manor? Jun Linyuan frowned. Grand Secretary Feng, the Feng Manor's next-door neighbor, is retiring soon. Many people are trying to purchase that house. Hence, Miss Feng wasn't here on a date, my dear Crown Prince. Weren't you a little too hard on young Lord Feng? She would rather get Feng Sun than himself to buy a manor? So, Feng Sun was more important to her than he was? The Crown Prince clenched his fists in rage. Feng was rendered speechless. In order to prevent his master from beating up Feng Sun again, he changed the subject right away. Miss Feng Wu is in World Tower now. The Crown Prince said arrogantly, why would I care where she is? Feng hesitated. But Miss Feng Wu doesn't have an entrance card to World Tower. Chapter 458, The Proud Crown Prince, 1. Feng said, but Miss Feng Wu doesn't have an entrance card to World Tower. Jun Linyuan smirked. TCH, she'll be thrown out, then. That's ridiculous, getting into World Tower without an entrance card. Does she think she owns World Tower now? Feng smacked his forehead. What was he supposed to do with his young master? He made another attempt. I think young Master Mu is going after Miss Wu now. Jun Linyuan halted abruptly. As in Mu the Sixth? Feng Sun's minion. Feng nodded. That's him, the sixth son of Lord Mu. He's very fond of pretty women and has 99 young maids and concubines at home already. I heard that. Jun Linyuan headed for World Tower right away. He only took a couple of steps before turning around and glaring at Feng. I'm not going because of that Feng Wu. No, of course not, Feng nodded immediately. World Tower bought some green cloud tea recently, which is a rare delicacy. Didn't you say you wanted to try some yesterday? Feng sighed inwardly. Other than looking after the Crown Prince's daily life, he had to be ready to make excuses for the latter as necessary. That's right. The Crown Prince set out happily. Feng was speechless. Meanwhile, in World Tower, young Master Mu's head went blank. For he looked past Duan Xiao and saw Feng Wu's face. That face. No matter how forgetful he became, he would never forget such an incredible beauty. He had seen her just earlier today at Northern Feng Mansion. But she had been talking to Feng at the time. Only a handful of people could talk to Feng as an equal. Who are you? Young Master Mu looked at Feng Wu suspiciously. She was so pretty. He would be over the moon if he could have her as his own. Yi Yafei interjected right away. She's Feng Wu. That genius from 5 years ago, but she's an imbecile and a cripple now. Feng Wu. Young Master Mu found that name very familiar, but not from 5 years ago. He thought he had heard it only today. All of a sudden, young Master Mu blanched. He remembered where he had heard it. In northern Feng Mansion. At that time, his brother Feng had been yelling in his room, "I like Feng Wu." You heard me. Brother Feng liked Feng Wu. As in the Feng Wu standing right here. So, she was his sister-in-law. Huayin had no idea what was going on in young Master Mu's head. Seeing how he stared at Feng Wu, Huayin thought that the young master was furious, so she added, "That's her." She slandered Elegant Ink Gallery for selling fake antiques. We told her that Elegant Ink Gallery was your business, but she was still. Shut up. Young Master Mu slapped Huayin hard. Smack. Huayin spun around at the crisp slap and everyone else watched in bewilderment. No one had seen that coming. Wasn't Huayin Yi Yafei's minion? Wasn't Yi Yafei on young Master Mu's side? Yi Yafei was the most astonished of them all. She stared at Mu in disbelief. Young Master Mu, you. Mu ignored Yi Yafei. He quickly went up to Feng Wu and beamed at her. Sister-in-law, I'm so glad to see you here. Ha ha ha. Sorry about what happened just then. My bad. I didn't recognize you. Please forgive me. Immediately, all eyes were on Feng Wu. Sister-in-law. Why would young Master Mu call her that? What was going on here? Feng Wu cut Mu off with a frown. What sister-in-law? Watch your language. Chapter 459, The Proud Crown Prince, 2. Feng Wu had reprimanded young Master Mu. Who the hell did she think she was? Didn't she know that young Master Mu was young Lord Feng's friend? Yi Yafei smirked. Feng Wu had offended young Master Mu so blatantly and she was looking forward to seeing Feng Wu's downfall. But to Yi Yafei's surprise, Mu moved closer and grinned at Feng Wu. Of course. Sister-in-law, you're so right. I was being inappropriate. That was so sycophantic. Everyone looked at young Master Mu in disbelief. He was the son of a lord and an acquaintance of the crown prince, but he was being so nice to Feng Wu all of a sudden. What was going on? Young Master Mu, you. Before Yi Yafei could finish her sentence, Mu turned around and glared at her. Yi Yafei, you, get your ass down here and apologize to sister. I mean, Feng. Xiao Wu. Mu wanted to call her sister-in-law so bad, but Feng Wu was glaring at him and he didn't dare do anything reckless. Yi Yafei was utterly dumbfounded. Me? Apologize to her? Yi Yafei thought she was going to lose her mind. Which important guy has she hooked up with now? Why do I need to apologize to her? Yi Yafei hated Feng Wu even more. Young Master Mu was displeased. He was going to say something when, are you having a party on the 5th floor now? A cheerful voice rang out. Feng Wu recognized that voice. Turning around, she saw that it was indeed Mu Yaoyao. She couldn't figure out why she kept running into this young princess everywhere. Actually, Mu Yaoyao had been watching for a while. She had thought that it would be a piece of cake for Yi Yafei to take out Feng Wu, but Yi Yafei was useless. Mu had completely squashed her. To stop Mu from indulging Feng Wu further, Mu Yaoyao stepped out. Princess Mu. Mu Yaoyao was Xian Yi's cousin and the daughter of Duke Mu. As a prestigious figure in the Imperial capital, she was quite well known. At least, everyone here recognized her. So, it's you, Mu the sixth one. Mu Yaoyao sauntered into the room and said in a casual voice, her arms crossed. Lord Mu was a baron and Mu Yaoyao's father was a duke, which was several ranks higher. Hence, Mu the Sixth could only smile bitterly at Mu Yaoyao. Mu, you've made quite a scene here. Mu Yaoyao patted Mu the Sixth on the shoulder, then pointed at Feng Wu. Do you know who she is? Of course Mu the Sixth had an answer to that. She's my sister-in-law. Mu Yaoyao snickered. Ignoring the goofy Mu the Sixth, she went up to Feng Wu. Glancing at Feng Wu out of the corner of her eye, Mu Yaoyao snorted. Sister-in-law. Ha! Mu the Sixth calls you that. Feng Wu, where did that come from? Despite Mu Yaoyao's background, Mu the Sixth wouldn't let her pick on Feng Wu. Hence, he went up to them and patted Mu Yaoyao on the shoulder. Hey, don't bully the newbie. Brother Feng won't be happy if he hears about this. Brother Feng? As in Feng Sun. Mu Yaoyao smirked and pointed at Feng Wu. Don't tell me you're calling her sister-in-law because of Feng Sun. What now? Mu the Sixth was confused. Ha ha ha, Mu Yaoyao laughed until she was in tears. Mu the Sixth, what can I say? Your joke just made my day. Ha ha ha. Chapter 460, The Proud Crown Prince, 3. Seeing how hard Mu Yaoyao laughed and how certain she was, Mu the Sixth couldn't help but look at Feng Wu again. Had he misunderstood something? Wiping away her tears, Mu Yaoyao said, Mu the Sixth, Feng the Third is all about his fame. Do you think someone like that will fall in love with a good-for-nothing? Would you, if you were him? That made some sense, but Feng Wu was really, really beautiful. Mu the Sixth scratched his head. Mu Yaoyao snorted. Well, Feng Sun and the others stayed at the old Feng Manor when they were in northern border city, but it was because of Feng Yuan, not Feng Wu. Well, Feng Sun did speak to her, but do you know what he said? Everyone was curious and all eyes were on Mu Yaoyao. After making sure she was in the limelight, Mu Yaoyao stuck out her chest and said arrogantly, Feng Sun asked her, Little Feng Wu, come to my place and be my cook. Ha ha ha. Everyone burst out laughing. Yi Yifei pressed her hands to her stomach and guffawed. That's so hilarious. Gosh, young Lord Feng is so wicked. Hua Yin, who had been slapped by Mu the Sixth, laughed until she was in tears. Cook for him. So, to young Lord Feng, Feng Wu is only as good as a cook. That's just. Jin Yuntao glared at Mu Yaoyao, but he was of too low a status to speak up. Mu the Sixth scratched his ear and said to Mu Yaoyao, that's not possible. I heard it with my own ears. Of course it's possible. And there's more. Mu Yaoyao darted a glance at Feng Wu with a gloating smile. When I left Northern Feng Mansion earlier today, Feng Wu was outside. Guess what I saw? What? Everyone looked at Mu Yaoyao. Mu Yaoyao smirked. I saw Feng Wu stopped at the gate. Captain Zhou went in to tell young Lord Feng, but he came back with a one-word reply, no. Ha ha ha. Yi Yifei and the others guffawed again. That's so humiliating. Young Lord Feng is really merciless. She's just a cook. Why should young Lord Feng see her anyway? I'd lock myself up in my room and cry if I were her, instead of walking around. Ha ha ha. Xiao thought she was going to explode. Xiao Wu was her goddess and someone she dreamed of becoming. How dare these people slander her like this? However, Feng Wu tugged at her sleeve and shook her head. Moreover, do you think young Lord Feng is the only man Miss Feng Wu here is trying to hook up with? Mu Yaoyao smirked. She's fishing with several rods all at once. I ran into her cuddling with this pretty boy on the street just the other day. Who was the guy? Mu the Sixth cried out. Well, I'm not at liberty to reveal that, but it wasn't your brother Feng, that's for sure. Mu Yaoyao patted Mu the Sixth on the shoulder. If she really is your sister-in-law, your brother Feng has my condolences. Mu the Sixth's face went livid. He glared at Feng Wu. The one thing that he couldn't stand was his brother Feng being humiliated. Got an explanation? Mu the Sixth stared at Feng Wu. I'm going to give you a chance. Explain yourself, or there will be consequences. Chapter 461, The Proud Crown Prince, 4. After all, Mu the Sixth was on Feng Sun's side. He worshipped Feng Sun and wouldn't let anyone say anything bad about the latter. Feng Wu glanced at Mu the Sixth. I'm not obliged to explain myself to you, but I guess I can clear something up here. She went on, Feng Sun and I are just friends. There's nothing more between us. But Mu the Sixth wouldn't believe it. You really are Feng Wu? Yes. Then you two can't just be friends. Mu the Sixth gritted his teeth. He wasn't that forgetful and he was sure he had heard Feng Sun right. His brother Feng had shouted out that he liked Feng Wu. Ha, friends? Mu Yaoyao smirked. You're nothing but a humble cook to Feng Sun. How arrogant of you, calling yourself his friend. You sure have a wild imagination. Mu Yaoyao was relentless with her choice of words. Yi Yafei and the others played along and laughed accordingly. They all gave Mu Yaoyao the thumbs up. Princess Mu was amazing. Then, they turned to Feng Wu in unison. What was she going to say now? Jin Yuntao was very concerned for Feng Wu. Xiao was furious. However, Feng Wu, the girl being humiliated, kept her composure the entire time. Mu Yaoyao, you really do talk a lot. Feng Wu stared at her and her gaze grew cold. I'm telling the truth. Prove yourself if you can. Mu Yaoyao smirked. You're not worth my explanation, but you're asking for death and I'm going to give it to you. Mu the Sixth. Feng Wu called his name in a cold voice. Mu the Sixth shuddered. Yes. When did you see me today? At noon. Where? In Northern Feng Mansion. Inside or outside? Inside. Mu the Sixth said loudly. You swear on it? Of course. Mu the Sixth confirmed. So, Feng Wu turned around and gave Mu Yaoyao a half-smile. According to you, I can't get into Northern Feng Mansion? Boom. Checkmate. That's not possible. Mu Yaoyao wouldn't believe it. You couldn't have gotten in. No way. Feng Wu said, so, you're saying that Mu the Sixth is lying for me? Mu the Sixth had been shaken by Mu Yaoyao's words, but what Feng Wu said steadied him. Mu Yaoyao, you're full of bullshit. I see you're so good at throwing mud at other people. Brother Feng will know about this and you'll have to answer to him. I don't believe it. Mu Yaoyao glared at Feng Wu. I heard it myself. Feng Sun wouldn't see you. Bullshit. Mu the Sixth had heard it himself that Feng Sun said he liked Feng Wu. And of course, Mu the Sixth chose to believe his own ears. Miss Yenyu, please take Princess Mu away. She's not welcome here. If Feng Sun were here, he could throw the princess out right away, but Mu the Sixth didn't dare do it. Touch me and you're dead. Wild with rage, Mu Yaoyao turned around and tried to slap Feng Wu. Thump. As soon as Mu Yaoyao raised her hand, Feng Wu kicked her right in the chest. Boom. There was a loud crashing sound. Mu Yaoyao flew backward and smashed into the dining table. Crash. The dishes had yet to be removed and the leftovers were still all there. Chapter 462, The Proud Crown Prince, 5. The table cracked at the impact and all the leftovers on the dishes ended up all over Mu Yaoyao. Everything happened so fast. And it took everyone by surprise. That was so frightening. No one had expected Feng Wu to lash out. Not to mention that she had kicked Mu Yaoyao so hard. Only then did they turn from Mu Yaoyao to Feng Wu and stare at the latter with dropped jaws and wide-open eyes. Everyone was flabbergasted. Yi Yafei was speechless. Mu the Sixth didn't know what to say. The rest of the crowd was equally silent. That was insane. You, Yi Yafei pointed at Feng Wu with a shaking finger. How dare you? How dare you? With the decline of the Feng clan's status, Feng Wu's uncle was the most superior figure they could come up with, and he was a mere third-ranked official. Mu Yaoyao, on the other hand, was the daughter of a duke. Mu the Sixth wanted to applaud Feng Wu. That was awesome. That kick even reminded him of Jun Linyuan. Mu the Sixth found Feng Wu even more pleasant after what she did to Mu Yaoyao. No one went to help Mu Yaoyao, and in the end, she struggled to her feet on her own. She was wretched beyond description. Fishbones and vegetable leaves stuck out of her hair, and her exquisite dress was stained and greasy as soup dripped from it. Enraged, Mu Yaoyao glared at Feng Wu with red-rimmed eyes and a twisted face. She bellowed, "Feng Wu! I'm gonna kill you!" After that, Mu Yaoyao charged at Feng Wu like an angry bull. She almost reached Feng Wu when Mu the Sixth pulled Feng Wu away. Mu Yaoyao hit empty air, but momentum kept her going. Thud! Feng Wu was standing a few steps in front of the wall, and right behind her was the painting Inky Rain. "Stop!" Yan Yu cried out. But she was too late. Mu Yaoyao banged into the wall headfirst like an angry bull. "No!" Yan Yu rushed to Mu Yaoyao's side and yanked the ladder back. But her worst fear had come true. Haughty as Yan Yu was, she almost burst into tears. And it wasn't for Princess Mu, but for the painting. As far as she knew, Inky Rain had been painted by His Royal Highness and contained a manual for a whole set of swordplay. They took great care of all the paintings, making sure that they were kept in a pristine state. But now all the grease on Mu Yaoyao's head had splattered all over Inky Rain. Yan Yu felt like passing out. That woman was dead. Mu Yaoyao had used all her strength and the impact was incredible. She almost cracked her own head open. Although she didn't pass out right away, her vision had darkened and she could see stars. Growing up, Mu Yaoyao had never been mistreated, that was, until she met Feng Wu. "Feng Wu! I'm gonna kill you, I swear to God!" Her angry scream resounded in the room. Feng Wu shrugged. "So, if anything happens to me, Princess Mu will be the prime suspect." "Mu the Sixth, you heard that, right?" Mu the Sixth nodded right away. "Yes, of course." Seeing that Mu the Sixth was taking Feng Wu's side, Mu Yaoyao exploded. Still sitting on the floor, she pointed at Feng Wu and yelled between angry sobs, "Mu the Sixth, you idiot! She couldn't even get into Northern Feng Mansion. How can Feng Sun be in love with her? Are you blind or have you lost your mind?" Chapter 463, The Proud Crown Prince, 6. Mu the Sixth was displeased. He was playing along with Feng Wu because she was a cool girl and his sister-in-law. Mu Yaoyao, on the other hand, was a different story. He wouldn't stand for the princess's temper. Before Mu the Sixth could speak, footsteps came from outside, and by the sound of it, there was more than one person. "Princess Mu, there you are." It was none other than Captain Zhou. He was here under Lady Northern Feng's command to take Mu Yaoyao back. But Mu Yaoyao didn't know that. She was thrilled to see Captain Zhou and rushed to his side despite the pain in her head. Grabbing Captain Zhou's hand, she dragged him to Feng Wu's side. Mu Yaoyao then shouted at Captain Zhou, "You're the captain of the guards of Northern Feng Mansion, so tell us, didn't young Lord Feng tell you this morning that he wouldn't see her? Didn't you shut her out of the mansion? Tell us." Instantly, all eyes were on Captain Zhou. Mu Yaoyao said that Feng Wu couldn't get into Northern Feng Mansion, but Mu the Sixth said she had gotten in. Which of the two was lying? Captain Zhou freed his arm from Mu Yaoyao's grasp, then stared at the princess with a stern look on his face. "Princess Mu, I'm bringing you to Lady Northern Feng on her command. Why does the lady want to see me? Answer me first." Feng Wu was shut out of Northern Feng Manor, wasn't she? Mu Yaoyao insisted. It was pivotal to her argument. Confirming it would in turn prove that she, Mu Yaoyao, wasn't lying. Hence, the others would believe everything else she said about Feng Wu. However, Captain Zhou only gave Mu Yaoyao a brooding look. Miss Feng Wu did get in. What? The looks the others gave Mu Yaoyao changed. Even Captain Zhou had said so, which meant that Mu Yaoyao was lying. She was deliberately slandering Feng Wu. Mu the Sixth smirked, while Yi Yifei and the others frowned. Mu Yaoyao was exasperated. Grabbing Captain Zhou, she tried to slap him. She paid you off, didn't she? How much did she give you? I'll double it. But as the captain of the guards, Zhou dodged her strike easily. Taking Mu Yaoyao's wrist, Captain Zhou stared at her with cold eyes. He hadn't planned to tell them what Lady Northern Feng said, but Mu Yaoyao was asking for it. Miss Mu, you're suspected of defaming Miss Feng Wu outside the gate of Northern Feng Mansion, and her ladyship ordered me to bring you to her for questioning. Wow! Everyone, especially Yi Yifei and her people, exchanged looks with one another. They had envied Mu Yaoyao for that invitation in the beginning, for it was from Lady Northern Feng. But now, Yi Yifei and the others all backed away from Mu Yaoyao. So, Mu Yaoyao had been lying after all, and she had made up all those things about Feng Wu. Mu the Sixth was reassured. He knew it. He knew he had heard correctly. His brother Feng was indeed in love with Feng Wu. See? Even Lady Northern Feng was on her side. Mu Yaoyao was so dead. Bursting into angry tears, Mu Yaoyao screamed, "You're all in it together. You're all working against me." With her frantic manner, her bloody forehead, and her greasy clothes, she looked worse than a beggar. One would never imagine that a princess could look like this. "Yaoyao, why are you yelling?" A voice came from the distance. Mu the Sixth shuddered at once. It couldn't be. "Your Royal Highness." Mu the Sixth was right. It was indeed the Emperor's third daughter, the obstinate royal princess. Despite his reluctance, Mu the Sixth had to greet her with a bow. Chapter 464, The Proud Crown Prince, 7. Jun Wuxia was the third princess of the royal family and the Empress's own daughter. As the most beloved daughter of her parents, she had grown into a spoilt and willful girl. The royal princess arrived with a large entourage, for that was what she was used to. Attended by that crowd, Jun Wuxia walked in, looking bemused. "Mu the Sixth, where's Mu Yaoyao? She was with me 1 minute and gone the next." So, Mu Yaoyao came with Jun Wuxia today. Mu the Sixth darted a glance at Feng Wu, feeling apprehensive. Things could probably turn very nasty for her today. "Princess, help!" Mu Yaoyao cried so hard that she almost passed out. She rushed to Jun Wuxia's side and wrapped her arms around the latter's leg. Her voice almost tore the roof open. Yi Yifei and the others looked at one another in bewilderment. Never had they expected to meet someone as big as Princess Jun Wuxia. They lowered their heads and kept very still. Feng Wu was so dead. This was great. Yi Yifei thought to herself. Jin Yuntao was worried sick. Princess Jun Wuxia was such a superior figure that he felt all hope was lost. What were they supposed to do now? Before Jun Wuxia could recognize Mu Yaoyao, a stalwart granny kicked Mu Yaoyao away with great force. Meanwhile, that Granny Yu, pulled Princess Jun Wuxia behind her and cried out, "Watch out, Your Royal Highness." Poor Mu Yaoyao. That was the second time she had been kicked in such a short period of time. Whoosh! Thud! Mu Yaoyao smashed into the wall again and she almost passed out in pain. Shaken, Princess Jun Wuxia turned around and glared at Yan Yu. "How could you let a beggar into World Tower? This is a respectable establishment. You haven't been doing your job properly. Throw her out now." Yan Yu was speechless. Mu the Sixth didn't know what to say. Yi Yifei was equally speechless. No one made a sound and it was very awkward. Mu Yaoyao wanted to dig a hole and bury herself inside. She had never been this humiliated. While the others kept their silence, Chaoga burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha ha, Mu Yaoyao, Princess Jun Wuxia wants to throw you out. Ha ha ha." Mu Yaoyao was so ashamed that she wanted to slip away before Jun Wuxia recognized her in that miserable state. However, her hopes were shattered by Chaoga. "Mu Yaoyao. Princess Jun Wuxia's eyes widened in surprise. Her entourage was equally shocked. All eyes were on Mu Yaoyao now. Mu Yaoyao felt her cheeks burn and the embarrassment ate at her. In the end, she closed her eyes and pretended to pass out. But Granny Yu wouldn't let her. She would be the one to blame if Mu Yaoyao fainted. Hence, Granny Yu quickly went up to Mu Yaoyao and picked her up as easily as if she was handling a chicken. Meanwhile, Granny Yu sent out a streak of spiritual essence from the tip of her finger. Mu Yaoyao felt as if electricity was running through her veins. She grumbled. Granny Yu snorted inwardly. The girl wanted to blame her for this. In her dreams, Mu Yaoyao wanted to kill Granny Yu, but since she couldn't pretend to pass out now, she had to go with the beaten-up girl act. Princess Jun Wuxia, help me. I'm Yaoyao, Mu Yaoyao pleaded between broken sobs and sounded very pitiful. It does sound like her. Show me her face, Princess Jun Wuxia commanded Granny Yu. Chapter 465, The Proud Crown Prince, 8. With her disheveled hair, stained clothes, and a face streaked with blood and tears, Mu Yaoyao looked worse than a beggar. However, Princess Jun Wuxia was able to recognize Mu Yaoyao from the latter's eyes and voice. Mu Yaoyao? Good gracious! Princess Jun Wuxia cried out in surprise. You, what have you done to yourself? How did you? Granny Yu dropped to her knees at Princess Jun Wuxia's feet, then spoke in a solemn tone. Your Royal Highness, I made a terrible mistake. I kicked Princess Mu before I could recognize her. I must be punished for what I did. Jun Wuxia waved her off. You only did it to protect me and it was an instinctive reaction. You're not to be blamed. Do get up. Granny Yu let out a breath of relief and rose to her feet. Jun Wuxia turned her attention to Mu Yaoyao now. Had Granny Yu kicked her that hard? Was she going to have to apologize to the Mu family now? Princess Jun Wuxia was still hesitating over the idea when Mu Yaoyao pointed at Feng Wu. Your Royal Highness, it wasn't Granny Yu's fault. That woman did this to me. That woman? Jun Wuxia followed Mu Yaoyao's finger. And she saw a girl standing there. What a pretty girl. Jun Wuxia had never met anyone this beautiful before. She was as perfect as a picture, she had bright eyes and white teeth, and there was something ethereal about her. Just standing there casually, she was already stunning. Especially her calm eyes and perfect composure. Jun Wuxia didn't think she could find anyone with that same air. She was so beautiful. Growing up in the royal palace, where some of the most beautiful women on this continent lived, Princess Jun Wuxia was used to seeing pretty faces all the time. However, she was still astonished by this girl. Pretty girls tended to vie with each other even more in terms of appearance. As soon as Jun Wuxia spotted Feng Wu, she tensed up and was combat ready. Who's she? Jun Wuxia asked in a displeased voice. She's Feng Wu. Wiping away the tears and blood on her face, Mu Yaoyao scrambled to her feet and pointed at Feng Wu. His Royal Highness annulled his engagement to her. Her? Of course Jun Wuxia knew who Feng Wu was. Back then, Feng Wu was a nightmare to many children of her age, for she had set the bar too high. Even the Empress's own daughter had been robbed of the spotlight. The look on Jun Wuxia's face turned grimmer. Mu Yaoyao smiled viciously. She suddenly recalled a lot of things Jun Wuxia had done, to get close to Feng Sun. Jun Wuxia and Feng Sun. Could that be it? Ha ha ha. Feng Wu, you're dead. Mu Yaoyao stoked the fire. Mu the Sixth called Feng Wu his sister-in-law just then, saying that young Lord Feng was in love with her. What? That set Jun Wuxia off right away. Her already unkind eyes spat fire now. Feng Wu, how dare you do that to Mu Yaoyao? Feng Wu had just turned into Jun Wuxia's #1 target. Clever as Feng Wu was, she figured out right away when she saw the change in Jun Wuxia's expression that thanks to Feng Sun, she had been framed yet again. Feng Wu frowned. Feng Sun and I are just friends. Friends? Mu Yaoyao smirked. Mu the Sixth called you his sister-in-law and you're just the young lord's friend? Feng Sun likes you so much that he wanted to bring you back to the imperial capital himself back in northern border city. Come to think of it, didn't you come here all the way from the border city just for him? Mu Yaoyao kept stealing glances at Jun Wuxia as she spoke. Chapter 466, The Proud Crown Prince, 9. Good. Jun Wuxia's face was livid. Trying to take the royal princess's man away. Feng Wu had to have a death wish. Smack. Infuriated, Jun Wuxia raised a hand to strike Feng Wu's beautiful face. She was wearing decorative nail guards which were sharp enough to cut Feng Wu's cheek open. Mu the Sixth rushed out and pushed Feng Wu out of the way. And he ended up being the one slapped. Jun Wuxia was fuming. Even Mu the Sixth was on Feng Wu's side now. Granny Yu. Jun Wuxia bellowed. Granny Yu acted as Jun Wuxia's bodyguard and she knew what the princess wanted even from the most subtle hint. Hence, Granny Yu walked out from behind Jun Wuxia and locked her murderous gaze on Feng Wu. Mu the Sixth shot Captain Zhou a warning glance, trying to get the latter to stop Jun Wuxia before she went berserk. Zhou sent one of his men back to ask Lady Northern Feng for help. Jun Wuxia smirked at Feng Wu. You should always watch out for powerful connections, even if you're hitting a dog. Granny Yu, take her. Granny Yu had been given to Jun Wuxia by the Empress and she was a she-wolf. Jun Wuxia had barely given her order when Granny Yu charged at Feng Wu like a tiger. Feng Wu leaned back and dodged that strike. Mu the Sixth rushed over and blocked Granny Yu's way. Have you lost your mind as well? Granny Yu grinned grimly. Young Master Mu, please get out of my way. No. Over my dead body. Mu the Sixth knew that Feng Wu was someone Feng Sun wanted to protect and he was already blaming himself for suspecting her earlier. He wasn't going to waver again. With a wave of his hand, his men broke into a fight with Granny Yu. However, Granny Yu was way too capable for Mu the Sixth's men to fend off. Mu the Sixth turned to Yen Yu for help. Miss Yen Yu, could you get your boss down here, for Brother Feng's sake? The head of World Tower never showed up in front of guests, but Mu the Sixth knew that Lu, the chief, was always stationed here. Yen Yu frowned. As a matter of fact, she didn't like Feng Wu. She didn't know why, but she just felt that way, as one woman to another. Hence, she shook her head. Chief Lu was too occupied with cultivation to pay attention to such a petty matter. So, she wasn't going to help. Exasperated, Mu the Sixth pulled Feng Wu to one side and whispered, when you get a chance, jump out of that window. Quickly. Princess Jun Wuxia was too willful and unpredictable for him to handle. He feared that the princess would kill Feng Wu here today. That could happen. But Feng Wu only stood there calmly with her hands behind her back and looked unhurriedly at Jun Wuxia. It was as if Jun Wuxia wasn't a royal princess, but just another commoner. Brushing off all the people standing in her way, Granny Yu lunged at Feng Wu and reached for her throat with her scrawny fingers. Screw you. Xiao shielded Feng Wu with her own body. Thump. But Granny Yu was still too powerful an opponent for Xiao and the granny sent Xiao flying backward with a sweep of her hand. Xiao grunted and spat out a mouthful of blood. Granny Yu finally faced Feng Wu. A cold light glinted in Feng Wu's eyes. It seemed that she wouldn't be able to hide her cultivation ability anymore. Just as Granny Yu raised her hand. Chapter 467, The Proud Crown Prince, 10. She was about to grab Feng Wu by her throat. Thud! A force as strong as a tornado rushed at Granny Yu. Crash. Despite how strongly built Granny Yu was, she was shoved away by that crushing force like a dry tree trunk. Thud! There was the sound of a human body hitting the wall. Crack. And that was the sound of bones breaking. All eyes followed Granny Yu as she flew backward, hit the wall, and fell to the floor, and they all heard the sound of her bones shattering. Then all heads turned in unison to the door. A neat, well-groomed and elegant elderly man stood there, showing great respect to a teenager in the middle of the crowd. Feng almost broke into a cold sweat. "Granny, you had asked for it." How dare she offend Feng Wu? If Feng hadn't intervened in time, Princess Jun Wuxia would be the one killed right now. The others had no idea what Feng was thinking about. Right now, all their attention was on that formidable teenager standing in the center of the room. He was impeccably handsome. He could easily look down on anyone or anything on this continent. He looked so haughty and unattainable. He was such a dazzling figure. "Why, Your Royal Highness," Mu the Sixth felt his legs give out and he almost dropped to his knees. This guy was the boss of his boss, and the most terrifying character. Jun Linyuan's face was livid. Because of that foul mood, the air in the room seemed to freeze the moment he set foot inside. Everyone, the swaggering, willful Jun Wuxia included, turned as meek as lambs in his presence. They didn't even dare look up. Jun Linyuan looked in Feng Wu's direction and his gaze became as sharp as a blade. Feng Wu was utterly bewildered. She hadn't even retaliated against his sister yet and he was already blaming her? Jun Linyuan indeed always took his people's side. Humph. Meanwhile, everyone watched Jun Linyuan in trepidation. World Tower didn't allow fighting, but they had just been doing so, which was to say that not only had they broken the rule, they had been caught red-handed by His Royal Highness himself. Jun Linyuan turned his sharp gaze on Mu the Sixth. "Your Royal Highness," sweat trickled down Mu the Sixth's forehead. "Explain." Jun Linyuan sat down in the head seat. Mu the Sixth sighed inwardly. He had met the Crown Prince multiple times because of Feng Sun, but Mu the Sixth found the Crown Prince more intimidating with each meeting, and thus felt more pressured each time. Despite how anxious he felt, Mu the Sixth managed to keep his voice calm and told Jun Linyuan what happened in succinct words. Jun Linyuan kept glancing at Feng Wu as he listened. He would never have bothered to come here for so petty a matter if it wasn't for her. Although, now that he was here to save her, that girl would finally see how useful it was to have him around, wouldn't she? The Crown Prince darted another proud look at Feng Wu. However, Feng Wu kept her head down, lost in her thoughts, and didn't notice Jun Linyuan. Seeing the Crown Prince glare at Feng Wu the whole time with a livid face, Mu the Sixth panicked. The Crown Prince always took his people's side and he would surely speak up for Princess Jun Wuxia now. Miss Feng Wu was in grave danger. Mu the Sixth's head was spinning and he pleaded with Jun Linyuan, "Your Royal Highness, it's true that Miss Feng Wu did some reckless things and offended the princess, but, after all, Brother Feng likes her that way, right? Everything would have been fine if Mu the Sixth had left that last bit out, but he didn't." Feng's stomach lurched. Chapter 468, The Proud Crown Prince, 11. Was stupidity infectious? Why were these young lords getting dumber and dumber? The Crown Prince would be furious. And Feng was right. Feng Wu. Jun Linyuan bellowed. Thud. He smacked down with an open palm. Thump. The table in front of him was pulverized and the pieces scattered all over the floor. For a second, everyone thought that their hearts had stopped beating. Oh, no. Feng Wu was so dead. She might have been able to get away from Princess Jun Wuxia's hatred, but if the Crown Prince turned against her, she was doomed. Jin Yuntao broke into a cold sweat. Mu the Sixth felt a great force fall from above, which almost broke his back. So scary. Jun Linyuan bolted to his feet. For a moment, no one dared to speak. You? Jun Linyuan stared at Yenyu. Yenyu had already dropped to her knees. She looked up at his voice. I'm Yenyu, Your Royal Highness. Since when is fighting allowed in World Tower? Jun Linyuan didn't raise his voice, but every syllable he uttered felt like a crushing blow. Yenyu shook all over, but she fought to keep her voice steady. I'm guilty of a crime which I cannot atone for even with my death. Your Royal Highness, please do whatever you see fit to punish me. You don't know what punishment fits you. You're useless. Jun Linyuan turned to Feng. Tell Lu Yun to get her ass down here. Lu Yun was the head of World Tower and a respectable figure that everyone tried to fawn over, but Jun Linyuan was ordering her around like a maid. Feng didn't need to do that. Lu Yun, who had been cultivating, stopped in the middle of her breakthrough and arrived in a hurry. Your Royal Highness. The woman wore a white dress, had calm, bright eyes, and looked as pleasant as an unruffled lake. Yi Yafei and the others trembled even more violently. What was going on? Why did all these bosses keep showing up? Your Royal Highness. The woman in the white dress was so slim that she could barely stand under the weight of her clothes. Jun Linyuan didn't seem to notice her beauty at all. He smirked. Is this how you run World Tower? If you're too busy for it, stop wasting my time here. Lu Yun had learned of what had happened on her way here, which only bewildered her further. Since when did the Crown Prince care about such petty things? Looking closely at Jun Linyuan, Lu Yun saw that the Crown Prince was genuinely mad. Yan Yu, Lu Yun drew out her sword. Whoosh! The blade swept down and Yan Yu's right arm was severed from the shoulder. Ah! Yi Yafei and the others cried out with ghastly pale faces. That was so horrible. Her arm was cut off just like that. However, one had to admit that what Lu Yun did successfully intimidated many people in the room, including that arrogant royal princess. Sweat trickled down Yan Yu's forehead, but she gritted her teeth and didn't utter a word despite the excruciating pain. Thump. Yan Yu fell to the ground. Lu Yun's gaze was bone-chillingly cold. Do you see what you've done now? Actually, Yan Yu didn't. However, it was her duty to follow Jun Linyuan's orders without question, which was something that had been ingrained in her. I don't. Lu Yun then asked, do you agree with the punishment then? Yes. Because it came from His Royal Highness and she was genuinely convinced. Go away. Yan Yu left, but her severed arm still lay on the floor. The bloody limb made for such a gory scene that no one dared look at it. Lu Yun stole a glance at Jun Linyuan and realized that he was still staring at Feng Wu while grinding his teeth. He looked so pissed. Chapter 469, The Proud Crown Prince, 12. So, His Royal Highness disliked this Miss Feng Wu. That was understandable. No one would like the girl they had once been engaged to, otherwise they wouldn't have cancelled the engagement in the first place. Miss Feng Wu. Lu Yun casually went up to Feng Wu and stared at the latter with sharp eyes. If I'm right, you're the fifth daughter of the Feng clan, the girl who lost her cultivation ability, aren't you? Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. She could detect how capable Lu Yun was. How may I help you? Feng Wu asked with a half-smile. World Tower doesn't allow fighting and you were doing so. Feng Wu smiled. It was self-defense. Lu Yun's face remained expressionless. She was so certain that His Royal Highness despised the sight of this girl, who he had once been engaged to, here in World Tower. Hence, Lu Yun smirked. I don't have time for this. Are you going to do it or do I have to do it for you? Ha! Feng Wu didn't understand. You're going to lose an arm like Yan Yu. Lu Yun's eyes glinted coldly. Feng was flabbergasted. What's wrong with you people? Can't you see how much His Royal Highness cares about Miss Feng Wu? Cutting her arm off? Seriously? If it was up to Feng, Lu Yun would be the one to lose her arm first. The old man felt exhausted. Did youngsters nowadays know nothing about reading faces? Couldn't they see how much His Royal Highness? Turning around, Feng felt even more helpless. His young lord looked so grumpy and terrifying that no one could tell if he was on Feng Wu's side or not. Feng had to intervene. Since Miss Feng Wu did it out of self-defense, someone else must have started it. Miss Lu, please take care of that Mu Yao Yao first, okay? Lu Yun was a smart woman. Had this been any other day, she would have taken Feng's hint right away. However, she had let herself be carried away by her sentiments, and it had been the same with Yan Yu. Both women didn't like Feng Wu. For some unknown reason, Lu Yun couldn't stop disliking Feng Wu when she saw her beautiful face and remembered that Feng Wu had once been the crown prince's fiancé. Hence, she was biased from the beginning. And she ignored Feng's hint. "Mr. Feng, are you going to take her word for it?" Lu Yun snorted. "I don't care what happened. She was fighting and I have to cut her arm off to convince the public." After that, Lu Yun stole a glance at Jun Linyuan. Since His Royal Highness didn't stop her, she was convinced that she was doing the right thing. Feng was speechless. Lu Yun was a shrewd woman, or His Royal Highness would never have made her the head of World Tower. As it turned out, she had been carried away by her own sentiments as well. What a pity. Feng Wu smirked. "What if I say no? I'll do it for you." Lu Yun frowned. Was Feng Wu trying to embarrass her in front of His Royal Highness? Lu Yun found Feng Wu even more unpleasant. Mu Yao Yao was thrilled. Feng Wu must have thought that His Royal Highness was still into her. That was why she was so arrogant and conceited. Her arm was going to be cut off now in front of His Royal Highness. They would see how arrogant she could be from now on. "Your Royal Highness," Mu VI was perturbed. Summoning up his courage, he stepped out. "But Brother Feng." All would have been fine if Mu VI hadn't mentioned Feng Sun. That name reminded Jun Linyuan of what he had heard earlier. He was going to stand up, but decided against it now. He snorted at Feng Wu. Lu Yun had drawn out her sword. Just then. Chapter 470, The Proud Crown Prince, 13. "Boss Jun. What are you doing?" A figure rushed in as fast as a tornado. "Young Lord Feng." He moved like young Lord Feng, but everyone was shocked when they saw his face. What happened to his face? Did someone beat him up? But who would dare do that to the young lord? While the others were feeling utterly bewildered, Feng Sun took the plunge. He shielded Feng Wu with his own body like a hen protecting its chick. Looking down, he said to Feng Wu, "Xiao Wu, don't be scared. I'm here to protect you." Feng Sun was probably the only person bold enough to stand up to Jun Linyuan at such a moment. Well, he hadn't always been this courageous, but he was willing to do it for Feng Wu now. Jun Linyuan stood up abruptly. He slowly made his way to Feng Sun and stopped in front of the ladder. A storm seemed to gather in his eyes. The temperature in the room dropped. Crack. Frost began to creep up the walls. Everyone felt chills run down their spines. They all lowered their heads and were too afraid to look up. Grabbing Feng Sun by his collar, Jun Linyuan said in a cold voice, his face livid, "Feng Sun, how dare you provoke me over and over again?" Despite her fear, Mu Yao Yao was secretly over the moon. She had hated Feng Sun for helping Feng Wu, and now, he had finally set Jun Linyuan off because of it. Ha ha ha, Feng Sun was so dead. Princess Jun Wuxia was conflicted. She was happy to see that in order to defend her, her brother had fallen out with Feng Sun. But to her great annoyance, Feng Sun was protecting that awful girl. Well, that was what Princess Jun Wuxia thought was going on here. "Brother." While the others were too afraid to speak, Jun Wuxia went up to Jun Linyuan and tugged at his sleeve in a pitiful manner. "Brother, please don't be mad at Feng Sun. He's not thinking straight. That woman tricked him. I'm sure he'll soon regret what he did." However, Jun Linyuan only drew back his sleeve abruptly and Jun Wuxia almost fell to the floor. But she didn't think much of it and turned to tug at Feng Sun's sleeve instead. "Feng Sun, just apologize to my brother now. Tell him you're sorry." Jun Wuxia tried to pull Feng Sun away from Feng Wu as she spoke. She thought she was doing a great job. She had shown Feng Sun what an understanding woman she was, and she had proven to her brother that she was very helpful. However, Feng Sun only found her meddlesome and shoved her away. "Get lost." Ah, Jun Wuxia stumbled and hit her forehead on the corner of the table. The pain almost made her burst into tears. "Your Royal Highness." The others all cried out in surprise. The frown on Junlin Yuan's face grew bigger and he glared at Feng Sun. It gave Feng Sun the creeps. As a matter of fact, he was very scared, but for Feng Wu. Boss Jun, Xiao Wu didn't do anything wrong. Why won't you leave her alone? She's innocent. The guy was still acting as if he was Feng Wu's sole protector. Junlin Yuan was so angry that he pushed Feng Sun away. Thump, Feng Sun fell to the floor as well. Brother, Jun Wuxia was so touched, thinking that Junlin Yuan had done it to avenge her, but she felt so sorry for Feng Sun at the same time. Feng Sun, are you alright? Seeing Feng Sun struck down by Junlin Yuan, Feng Wu rushed to his side to help him. Junlin Yuan was furious. Chapter 471, The Proud Crown Prince, 14. Staring at Feng Wu with a murderous look in his eyes, he grabbed her by her arm. Are you an idiot? Why do you care about him so much? I could kill you right now. That astonished everyone. His Royal Highness hated Feng Wu so much that he wanted to kill her. Mu Yaoyao and the others were elated at that discovery. Mu Yaoyao said right away, Your Royal Highness, Feng Wu is playing Feng Sun. I saw with my own eyes Feng Wu cuddling Yu Minji on the street in the middle of the night. Boom. Those words seemed to set Junlin Yuan's brain on fire and his face was darker than a stormy sky. He looked more terrifying than a fiend from hell. Instantly, a gloomy, bone-chilling sensation filled the room. That was so terrifying that everyone shuddered uncontrollably. Junlin Yuan stepped forward and wrapped his fingers around Feng Wu's throat. He wanted to throttle her now. Feng Wu's eyes widened and she glared at Junlin Yuan. She wanted to say something, but couldn't utter a word. Your Royal Highness. At that critical moment, Feng intervened. Seeing that things were getting further and further off track, the old man felt so desperate. If he didn't stop it now, his young lord would probably never get a wife. Shut up. Junlin Yuan's handsome face was expressionless and there was a frantic look in his eyes. Throwing Feng Wu over his shoulder, he headed for the door. He was carrying her away. Everyone else was baffled. Junlin Yuan halted after a few steps. He turned around, darted a cold glance at Mu Yaoyao and the others, and smirked. Tell their parents to come and fetch their kids. After that, Junlin Yuan marched off with Feng Wu on his shoulder. Feng would have followed him out under normal circumstances. However, it wouldn't be appropriate today, after the big row the young couple had just had. Lu Yun was still dumbfounded, but she had to pull herself together, for His Royal Highness had given an order. That look which His Royal Highness had given her just then was so piercing that Lu Yun was still trembling inwardly. As a result, she didn't dare do anything reckless and turned to Feng for help. What did His Royal Highness mean by telling their parents? Feng darted a glance at Lu Yun. It was understandable that the girl would begin to imagine things for her age. If it happened again, however, His Royal Highness would give her up for sure. Feng had warned Lu Yun once already, and he wasn't going to do it again. He was a supreme swordsman, not a nanny. He ignored Lu Yun and gave the instruction himself. These people offended His Royal Highness and they're going nowhere. Tell their parents to come and get them. No one is leaving here without a parent. Everyone was dumbfounded. They offended His Royal Highness? Who could have been bold enough to do that? But it was an order from His Royal Highness, and they could only obey. Mu Yaoyao said, Mr. Feng, I'm a victim. Feng ignored her. Yi Yafei said, Mr. Feng, I didn't do anything. Feng ignored her. Jin Yuntao and his friends were the most innocent ones. They really had done nothing and had become collateral damage here. Well, I guess I should leave now. Jun Wuxia then tried to help Feng Sun up. However, Feng stared at Jun Wuxia. No one is leaving without a parent. Jun Wuxia glared at Feng. I can vouch for them. Chapter 472, The Proud Crown Prince, 15. Feng looked at Jun Wuxia, his tone impassive but authoritative. I would worry about myself first if I were you, Your Royal Highness. What? All eyes were on Jun Wuxia. Even the royal princess had to be picked up by a parent? Jun Wuxia turned scarlet with rage and she pointed at Feng. You, how dare you? My brother will hear about this when he comes back. Feng gave Jun Wuxia a sympathetic look. After all these years, Jun Wuxia still hadn't figured it out. His Royal Highness had no brotherly love for her at all. Meanwhile, Jin Yuntao was worried sick. Guys, sorry for putting you through this. Jin Yuntao had no idea what to do. If his family knew that he had offended his Royal Highness, would his old man have a heart attack? As for Yuan Ming and Yi Zhou, the two of them weren't from the Imperial capital. Where were they supposed to get a parent to pick them up? Everyone here on the 5th floor was either flustered or perturbed. With Feng Wu over his shoulder, Jun Linyuan went straight up to the top floor, beyond world. Thump. He kicked the door open. And he tossed Feng Wu onto a low couch. Ouch. Feng Wu hit her back when she landed and she almost burst into tears. She felt so offended. Jun Linyuan. Have you lost your mind? Feng Wu was furious. Jun Linyuan stared at her grimly and smirked. You ignored all my warnings. What warnings? Feng Wu looked up and glared at Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan's tantrum made her flinch, but she felt more enraged than scared. I warned you to stay away from Feng Sun, but you just won't listen. Jun Linyuan enunciated each word, which felt like little daggers jabbing into Feng Wu's heart. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. I didn't do it on purpose. Feng Wu tried to explain. All you have are excuses and more excuses. What else do you have? Jun Linyuan's face was livid and he said contemptuously, they say that beautiful women are the best liars and you're the biggest one. Bending down, Jun Linyuan grabbed Feng Wu by the throat with one hand, as if he was going to snap her neck the next second. Overwhelmed with rage, Feng Wu thought she was going to lose her mind. What on earth did I do? What excuses have I made? And why am I the biggest liar? Tell me. Feng Wu felt so wronged. What had she ever done to deserve all this? She was very, very mad. Are you going to tell me that you didn't go to Feng Sun's place? Jun Linyuan looked down at her coldly. And what's wrong with that? I need to buy a house and I went to him for help. He can help me, so what? Are you going to forbid that now? Feng Wu snapped. Is he the only one you can think of? You could have come to me. Jun Linyuan bellowed. After that. A hush fell over the room. Feng Wu was baffled. And even Jun Linyuan himself was baffled. It felt so awkward. Looking into Feng Wu's limpid eyes, the crown prince felt his heart skip a beat. Are you? Feng Wu asked tentatively. Don't flatter yourself. Of course I don't care about you. Jun Linyuan smirked. I don't want you to bring harm to Feng Sun. That's all. That set Feng Wu off again. Why would I do that? With all the help he's given me, I'd only be nicer to him. Chapter 473, The Proud Crown Prince, 16. What? She thought she wasn't nice enough to that guy before, and she was going to be nicer to him now. Jun Linyuan was exasperated. He threw a dirty look at Feng Wu and turned to leave. Hey, wait! Where are you going? Feng Wu shouted after Jun Linyuan. Despite how furious he was, Jun Linyuan actually stopped. He turned around with a grim look on his face, which was rather intimidating. Are you going to hit Feng Sun again? Feng Wu rushed out and grabbed Jun Linyuan. No! You can't do that. She was speaking up for another man now. Jun Linyuan thought he was going to lose his mind. Brushing off Feng Wu's hands, he said in a soft, creepy voice, Don't worry. I won't hit him. I'm going to kill him. But Feng Sun was his childhood friend. He wouldn't do that, would he? Surely he was only saying that to frighten her. However, why was her heart still racing in fear? Feng Wu couldn't take the risk, for Jun Linyuan was nuts. At that thought, Feng Wu grabbed Jun Linyuan's arm and yelled, "Stop! You're not going anywhere." Jun Linyuan smirked, threw her hands off, and was going to march off. Feng Wu was exasperated. Poor Feng Sun. He had been beaten up twice by Jun Linyuan already, and now a third time. She couldn't let that happen. Flustered, Feng Wu didn't have time to think straight. Sprinting toward Jun Linyuan, she leapt onto Jun Linyuan's back and wrapped her arms around his neck and her legs around his waist. "No! I won't let you!" Just then, "Your Royal Highness." Lu Yun's voice came from outside. The door was open and she saw what was going on as soon as she came in. Lu Yun was astonished and she stood dazed on the spot. She could hear a rumbling sound in her head, as if she had just been struck by a thunderbolt. Her head went blank. His Royal Highness. His Royal Highness. Feng Wu. Feng Wu. A bitter taste filled her mouth and she was almost in tears. "Get lost!" With a wave of his hand, Lu Yun disappeared from sight, as if she had been blown away by a hurricane. Speechless, Feng Wu watched as Lu Yun fell from the building. Jun Linyuan was so violent. To him, people weren't categorized into men and women, but into the strong and the weak. Clack. The door to Beyond World closed. The entire 10th floor was an open space with no extra walls. One could see the entire room at one glance. Jun Linyuan could feel the soft body pressing against his back and he went tense. Even someone as wise and powerful as him was a little nervous. He turned around and glared at Feng Wu. "Get down!" Frightened by Jun Linyuan's violent act, Feng Wu cringed and did as told. She stood still next to him. Lu Yun, who had been pushed out the door, fell all the way down from Beyond World. Crash. She landed on the ground with a crushing sound. As the head of World Tower, Lu Yun was very well known. Not many people had met her before, but the sound was so loud that a lot of customers came out to have a look. Hence, someone soon recognized her. "Gosh, isn't that Master Lu Yun, the head of World Tower?" Lu Yun was pushed off the building. "Oh my god! Who did it? Is World Tower under attack?" To enter the lowest floor of World Tower, one had to be a 7th-ranked official or an owner of a medium-sized business at the very least. That was to say, only more influential personages had access to the higher floors. Chapter 474, The Proud Crown Prince, 17. All the customers, from 7th-ranked officials to lords, were astonished. World Tower was seized by panic. However, with Feng around, it didn't last long enough to cause any actual damage. The old man stepped out and announced in a level voice, "His Royal Highness is in the middle of something. Please go back to your rooms and don't linger." Among the onlookers were viscounts and earls. Lord Wuan was one of them. All the others egged Lord Wuan on to probe into the situation. Lord Wuan went up to Feng and lowered his voice. "Mr. Feng, what did Boss Lu do? That was kind of harsh." Feng vented his sarcasm inwardly. "What do you think? She picked the wrong side. His Royal Highness will never forgive her for trying to cut Miss Wu's arm off." Of course, Feng kept all that to himself. Otherwise, his proud, sensitive young master would kill anyone that heard about it. Feng cleared his throat. "Lord Wuan, His Royal Highness doesn't like to be questioned." Reminded of Jun Linyuan's grim face, Lord Wuan flinched. Of course. I'm sure His Royal Highness has his own reasons." Dejected, Lord Wuan returned to his room in a hurry. "What did you hear? What did Master Lu do?" Lord Wuan was entertaining some guests today on the 8th floor, and among them were several viscounts and earls. Lord Wuan rubbed his chin. His Royal Highness doesn't like it when other people stick their noses into his business. "Gentlemen, let's just enjoy the meal." Actually, Lord Wuan only said that because he wasn't able to get any information. I think His Royal Highness is in a foul mood, said the Earl of Yangling in a mysterious tone. Why do you say that? The others were surprised. I was told that a girl offended His Royal Highness on the 5th floor and that was why His Royal Highness lashed out at Master Lu Yun. Who could have been bold enough to do that? Lord Wuan cried out in surprise. Lu Yun herself was treated with great respect, to say nothing of the Crown Prince. These lords showed more reverence for the Crown Prince than for the Emperor. What do you know about the Feng clan? You mean the one that used to be among the 9 major clans, but has since fallen beyond recognition? Yes, that one. They had this Feng Wu girl back then, remember? She was once His Royal Highness's fiancée. The Feng clan thought that with that genius daughter, they could rise to the top and get back into the 9 major clans. But that girl lost her talent and became a nobody. I heard about that. Isn't that girl dead? She's not. I was told that she came back from northern border city, and she's the one who pissed off His Royal Highness on the 5th floor. I see. His Royal Highness must have found her repulsive, and the head of World Tower was blamed for letting her in. Poor Master Lu Yun. She's innocent in this. We should remind the youngsters after we go back. Tell them to stay away from this Feng Wu, or they could be the next ones incriminated. That's so true. Without knowing it, Lord Wuan had led his friends in a very wrong direction. And after those lords got back home, they led their offspring even further down that wrong path. We'll talk about that later. Lu Yun's mind went blank after she was pushed off the top floor. It was not until her body hit the ground and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Only then was she able to think straight again. It hurt. She wasn't dreaming. It had really happened. She had really seen Feng Wu straddling His Royal Highness's back, and he had pushed Luo Yun off the building in exasperation. Chapter 475, The Proud Crown Prince, 18. To her, the Crown Prince was as superior and inviolable as the highest snow mountain, but he had let that girl climb onto his back? That girl straddled him? Lu Yun spat out another mouthful of blood. The physical pain was nothing compared with how she felt inside. Once the onlookers were dismissed, Feng looked down at Lu Yun with an impassive look on his face. Feng had known Lu Yun since she was little, and he saw how hard she had struggled to rise to this position from when they had found her as a mere beggar on the street. Mr. Feng. His Royal Highness and Feng Wu. They. Tears rolled down Lu Yun's cheeks. Feng shook his head. It seemed that Lu Yun was no longer fit for this position as the head of World Tower. Mr. Feng, did you know all along? Lu Yun asked between broken sobs as tears streaked her face. She felt too defeated to stand up. So what if she looked pathetic? What did she care now? Her world had just collapsed. Feng sighed. I warned you before. But you were jealous and blinded by your personal agenda. You thought you could fool others. Mr. Feng, You're no longer fit for World Tower. Feng gave his verdict. Go back to the Imperial Guards. Mr. Feng, Lu Yun was genuinely scared. She had given all she had and put in so much painstaking effort to stand out among all the talented people in the Imperial Guards. She had come a long way from when she had been a mere slave. However, she was going to lose everything because of one tiny selfish act. I won't accept it. Lu Yun wasn't convinced. Crossing his hands behind his back, Feng looked up at the clear blue sky. You might be able to hide your selfish motives from others, but Miss Feng Wu isn't someone you can offend without consequences. Feng shook his head. Even Princess Jun Wuxia had to wait here for a parent to pick her up, not to mention a mere employee like Lu Yun. What was there to argue about? No matter how reluctant Lu Yun was, the Crown Prince didn't believe in second chances. Hence, Lu Yun was sent back to the Imperial Guards and Lu Yu was made the new head of World Tower. The only reminder Feng gave Lu Yu was, offend His Royal Highness, you might be spared, but you'll want to double-check how you got this job if you want to mess with Miss Feng Wu. Lu Yu wanted to ask for a further explanation, but Feng only shook his head. Don't ask why. We can easily find a replacement for you if you can't figure it out. Lu Yu nodded obediently in a hurry. Meanwhile, up on Beyond World, Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan were in an awkward situation. Jun Linyuan wanted to leave, but Feng Wu had grabbed his belt from behind. She would follow him wherever he went. Jun Linyuan was speechless. He couldn't help but look over his shoulder and glare at Feng Wu. Are you a dog? Let go of my belt. Feng Wu was so afraid that Jun Linyuan would go after Feng Sun again, although she still couldn't figure out why he was doing it in the first place. Her reasoning was that Jun Linyuan was a sadist. Gingerly looking up at Jun Linyuan, Feng Wu only wrapped her fingers tighter around his belt. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything. From this angle, Feng Wu looked as adorable and cuddly as a puppy. However, he flared up again when he recalled all the things she had done. Are you that worried about Feng Sun? Jun Linyuan asked grumpily. No, of course not. Feng Wu's glistening eyes reminded him of a doe. I just don't want to see your Royal Highness hurt your hands. Chapter 476, The Proud Crown Prince, 19. Although she had no idea why Jun Linyuan wanted to beat Feng Sun up, it was always a good idea to butter him up. Because Feng Wu had realized something very important. Before she was powerful enough, she wouldn't be able to protect all the people she wanted to protect, she couldn't even protect herself. Hence, until she could do that, she needed to find the biggest kid on the playground. She had thought that Feng Sun was good enough to solve all her problems, but as it turned out today, when Jun Linyuan the Fiend was around, Feng Sun was a mere punching bag. So, maybe she should switch to Jun Linyuan instead? Although, he looked too unfriendly to be an ideal protector. But everyone was afraid of him and he seemed to be her only option. The more Feng Wu thought about it, the more upset she became. Shoulders drooping, she heaved a sigh. Jun Linyuan was a little nonplussed by Feng Wu's words, and somehow, his anger dissipated. Instead, he stared at Feng Wu and said awkwardly, I see you've learned. You're sweet-talking me now. Seriously? Jun Linyuan wasn't mad anymore. An idea came to Feng Wu all of a sudden, but it disappeared as fast as it appeared. Jun Linyuan patted Feng Wu on her head, then rubbed her hair. He liked the feel of it. Feng Wu looked past what Jun Linyuan was doing with his hand and her eyes sparkled. You'll cut Feng Sun loose, won't you? Oh, can you maybe let Jin Yuntao go as well? Please. He only got into a fight with Yi Yafei because he was helping me. His family will freak out and they'll think he offended you if you ask his parents to pick him up. Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu. Why do you care about other men so much? As if you Minji and Feng Sun weren't enough, there was this Jin Yuntao now. Are you going to hit on everyone? Jun Linyuan glowered at Feng Wu. Oh no, here we go again. Feng Wu stumbled back. Jun Linyuan pressed her, speak. Do you like them that much? I don't. I don't like any of them that way. Feng Wu said proudly. Who do you like, then? Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu. No one. The only one that Feng Wu cared about now was her white-clad, elegant master. Jun Linyuan snorted. He didn't like that answer, but he didn't hate it either. Can you let them go, please? Just Jin Yuntao and his friends. Tugging at Jun Linyuan's sleeve, Feng Wu looked at him with pleading eyes. The crown prince was defeated by her doe eyes. He raised his chin. Are you begging me now? Feng Wu nodded in a hurry. Yes, of course. How spineless. Jun Linyuan jabbed Feng Wu's forehead with a finger. Fine, I'll let all of them go. No, you can't. Feng Wu said in a hurry. Just Jin Yuntao, his friends, and Feng Sun. Not Mu Yao Yao and the others. They'll have to be picked up by their parents. Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu with an open mouth. Feng Wu nodded at him earnestly. I mean it. The girl was so good at bearing grudges. Jun Linyuan said grumpily, "Why should I listen to you? Who are you to me? I'm not following your orders. I'll do whatever I want." Jun Linyuan, Feng Wu said in a saccharine voice as she swayed his arm back and forth. "Boss Jun, your Royal Highness, my dear Crown Prince Jun. Stop talking like that." Jun Linyuan cast a stern look at her. Feng Wu pouted and looked at him in grievance. Chapter 477, The Proud Crown Prince, 20. I'm so fed up with you. Fine. Your request is granted. The Crown Prince feigned an impatient tone. Feng Wu was thrilled. She had never expected Jun Linyuan to be so easily persuaded. The guy must be in a great mood today. Yes. Today was her lucky day. After the order was given, what? Mu Yaoyao's head went blank after she heard the news. She stared at the new head of World Tower in disbelief. Why can Feng Sun leave? No, I mean, I understand why young Lord Feng can leave, but why Jin Yuntao and those two? I won't accept it. Lu Yu, the new head, had been warned by Feng. She knew perfectly well how Lu Yun had lost her job, and she was going to make sure that she chose the right side, that was, Feng Wu's side. As for someone like Princess Mu Yaoyao, that was a different story. Lu Yu smiled. I'm sorry, Princess Mu, but I'm only following orders here. I won't accept it. Where's Master Lu Yun? Why are you here? Mu Yaoyao was flustered. Lu Yu was smirking inwardly. Lu Yun. She was long gone. Lu Yu said calmly, Master Lu Yun has been transferred to another post. From now on, I'm in charge of World Tower. Moreover, we have informed the Mu family of what is going on here. I believe that your family will soon arrive to pick you up. She then went up to Jin Yuntao and his friends. This time, her tone was very affable and she smiled warmly. Mr. Jin, you're free to go. After Lu Yu saw them off, Jin Yuntao and the other two were still eyeing one another in bewilderment. Their heads were spinning. Especially Yi Zhou and Yuan Ming, who had feared that the school would learn about this and expel them. As it turned out that the problem had been solved just like that. By the way, here are some gifts for you. We apologize for putting you all through this, so please accept this as compensation. The three gifts were wrapped exquisitely, which indicated how valuable they were. This, Jin Yuntao hesitated and didn't dare accept it. Were they trying to set him up? He couldn't be so lucky. Lu Yu smiled. 3 young masters, please accept the gifts. They're just a little something for World Tower having kept you here for such a long time. This was the new head of World Tower. Lu Yun, the previous one, had been so haughty and unapproachable, but wasn't this one a little too friendly? Jin Yuntao and the other two eyed one another in utter confusion. However, he would never dare refuse a gift from World Tower. He was talking to a figure that even his father would treat with great respect. Jin Yuntao had no choice but to take the so-called compensation with both hands. Yi Zhou and Yuan Ming followed suit. They were still a little dizzy when they left World Tower. Yi Zhou asked, we were cut loose, just like that? Yuan Ming asked, we came out without a scratch. Jin Yuntao scratched his head. I think so. Yi Zhou and Yuan Ming turned to Jin Yuntao in bewilderment. What on earth happened? Did your family talk to World Tower or something? Jin Yuntao smiled bitterly. My family is alright, but we're nobody compared to all the influential clans in the Imperial capital. My dad is the highest-ranking official in my clan, but even he isn't important enough to meet the head in person, not to mention. Chapter 478, The Proud Crown Prince, 21. Not to mention that His Royal Highness gave the order himself. No one would be bold enough to defy him. Jin Yuntao gave them a wry smile. Who else could it be? How about Miss Feng Wu? Yi Zhou suggested. Could Miss Feng Wu have pleaded to His Royal Highness for us? It's possible. She's so beautiful. Jin Yuntao and Yuan Ming gave Yi Zhou a "you idiot" look. Yi Zhou recanted after another thought. No, that can't be it. Miss Feng Wu doesn't have any cultivation ability. There's no way that His Royal Highness. He's too superior for any mortal girl. Jin Yuntao and Yuan Ming nodded in unison. If Feng Wu hadn't had that mishap 5 years ago, maybe she would be a suitable companion for His Royal Highness, but now, sigh. Yuan Ming said, Miss Lu Yu was so kind to us, I don't think she'd set us up. Plus, compared with the Great World Tower, what can we possibly have that's worth setting us up for? Yi Zhou nodded happily. You're right. Can we unwrap the gifts now? I really want to know what it is. After that, Yuan Ming and Yi Zhou opened the boxes eagerly. When they saw what was inside, OMG! Yuan Ming cried out in surprise. In the boxes were some big, round, and smooth spiritual stones that were very dense in spiritual essence. Yuan Ming's eyes widened. Are they medium-grade spiritual stones? Yi Zhou snapped, Are you blind? How can they be medium-grade? They're top-grade. Moreover, they had been given 3 stones each. Holy shit! I remember that only the student with the highest mark in the final exams is awarded a top-grade spiritual stone, right? You can't buy them just anywhere. Their prices are exorbitantly high in auction houses. And we were given 3 each. World Tower is indeed as rich as it's said to be. The 3 of them didn't think much of it. They went off to cultivate together shortly afterward. Mu Yaoyao saw Lu Yu walk Jin Yuntao out, but she didn't know that the 3 teenagers had gone off with gifts. If she did, she would probably get a stroke. On the 5th floor. Jun Wuxia's face was livid. Feng Sun was gone and so were Jin Yuntao and his friends. However, she, a royal princess, was still here. She jumped to her feet. However, she was stopped at the door. Feng wasn't here. He didn't need to be around for such a petty task. Lu Yu was the one who stopped Jun Wuxia. Go away! Jun Wuxia yelled at Lu Yu. How dare you block my way? I'm going to kill you. Jun Wuxia wouldn't try to leave if Feng Sun, Jin Yuntao, and the other 2 hadn't left, but now, she felt humiliated. She was sure that her brother didn't know about this. Those servants were behind this. Lu Yu looked at Jun Wuxia and said in a calm voice, I'm sorry, Your Royal Highness, but you're not going anywhere until someone comes to pick you up. Then why could they leave? Jun Wuxia went scarlet with rage. Mu Yaoyao and Yi Yifei pricked up their ears. Lu Yu smiled. An important figure put in a good word for them, which is why they were free to go. Who was that person? Jun Wuxia asked hastily. Chapter 479, The Proud Crown Prince, 22. Jun Linyuan wasn't known to be easily persuaded, not even by his own father, the emperor. Someone had just changed his mind. Who could that be? Lu Yu smiled, but didn't reply. Mu Yaoyao went up to them in a hurry. Sister Lu Yu, I'm so sorry. I apologize for being so rude. Can you tell us who that person is? We'll go ask for his help. Maybe he'll put in a good word for us, too. Right? Lu Yu smirked inwardly. It was her, and with what you did? Forget it. You people would be scared out of your wits if I told you that the person was Miss Feng Wu. Deep down, Lu Yu was a little devil. She was enjoying seeing Mu Yaoyao and the others dig their own graves. Hence, she replied indifferently, I'm sorry. I don't know who that person is. Just then, hasty footsteps came from outside. Lady Mu arrived with a bunch of maids and grannies. However, they were stopped at the door and Lady Mu was only allowed to take 1 maid and 1 granny with her. Lord Mu had been furious when he got the news. The girl offended His Royal Highness? Did she have a death wish? Lord Mu was too ashamed to come here himself. Lady Mu could still hear Lord Mu's bellow in her ears. Leave her there. Let her rot in hell. What was she thinking, offending Jun Linyuan? How stupid can she be? Lady Mu had a hard time calming Lord Mu down before leaving for World Tower with all those servants and a lot of gifts. A granny found a maid of World Tower before they got in and bribed her. They were then told what happened today. However, they were all the more befuddled after they heard the whole thing. What? What did the princess do? What was the crown prince unhappy about? For offending Feng Wu and Xiao, or for bringing Princess Jun Wuxia into this? Lady Mu was confused. They also heard from the maid that Master Lu Yun had been replaced by Lu Yu, the new head. Lady Mu's stomach lurched. That was big. Lu Yu came out to greet Lady Mu. With Lady Mu, Lu Yu was rather detached in her manner, and that warm smile she gave Jin Yuntao was nowhere to be found. Lady Mu, please take the princess back. She's no longer a child and I don't think she should act or speak so childishly anymore. You never know who you would offend unknowingly. What more could Lady Mu say? She could only smile bitterly and promise that she would discipline the princess well. Princess Mu was vexed. Just tell me who I offended. What childish thing did I say? Mu Yao Yao glared at Lu Yu. She couldn't understand this. Smack! However, Lady Mu slapped her hard in the face right away. Mom! Mu Yao Yao was astonished. She had never expected that her mother would hit her. Growing up, her mother had always doted on her and had never laid a finger on her. Mu Yao Yao felt so wronged. The look in Lady Mu's eyes had never been this stern. Shut your mouth. She had offended His Royal Highness and that was a fact. Continuing to ask such questions would only displease the Crown Prince further. Lord Mu and herself wouldn't be able to do anything if the Crown Prince decided to cut Mu Yao Yao's head off. Lady Mu darted a look at the granny whom she had brought with her. The granny quickly tied Mu Yao Yao up with a rope. Chapter 480, The Proud Crown Prince, 23. What are you doing? What do you think you're doing? Let go of me. Now! Mu Yao Yao cried out in surprise and struggled violently. However, Granny Xiong was too powerful for Mu Yao Yao to break free from. She could handle the princess like a hawk picking up a chicken. Once she seized Mu Yao Yao, the girl's fate was sealed. Granny Xiong's fingers moved swiftly and the rope made a whooshing sound in her hands. She was almost too fast for the eye to follow. When the others were finally able to see what she was doing, Mu Yao Yao had been tied up like a mummy. Mu Yao Yao tried to speak, but the fierce Granny Xiong stuffed a big walnut into her mouth. That successfully shut her up right away. Mu Yao Yao really burst into tears now. Lady Mu gave Lu Yu a nod, then left with Mu Yao Yao. Everyone was astonished. Lady Mu was so merciless. That was rather humiliating for Princess Mu, wasn't it? However, Lu Yu watched the lady leave with an appreciative look in her eyes. Lady Mu had done the right thing. Mu Yao Yao offended His Royal Highness, and the only thing the Mu family could do now was to accept any punishment the Crown Prince gave them and act as humbly as they could. But was Lord Mu going to be alright after what Lady Mu did? As a matter of fact, shortly afterward, the Imperial censors accused him of some random misconduct and impeached him, and he was downgraded to an earl. For that, Lord Mu wanted to kill Mu Yao Yao. Of course, we'll talk about that later. Yi Yafei's father came to pick her up. Sir Yi was a third-ranked official and the assistant minister of the Ministry of Works. When he learned that Yi Yafei had offended His Royal Highness, he almost passed out on the spot and was only able to steady himself with much difficulty. He wished Yi Yafei wasn't his daughter, but that wasn't an option. Hence, he had to come here and get her. As soon as he reached the entrance of World Tower, he met Lady Mu with the mummy-like Princess Mu, and his face drained of all color at the sight. Even the Mu family had to succumb to the Crown Prince's fury and punish their own daughter. What other choice did the Yi family have? Hence, as soon as Sir Yi saw Yi Yafei, slap, slap, slap. He slapped her repeatedly right away. He was genuinely infuriated. Yi Yafei was dumbfounded. Sir Yi was also sounding out the attitude of the new head of World Tower. Things wouldn't be so bad if she stopped him. However, Lu Yu simply stood there with her hands behind her back with an indifferent look on her face, as if she was watching a show. Sir Ye's heart sank. He realized that Lu Yu wouldn't frown even if he beat Yi Yafei to death here. Let's go. Sir Yi took Yi Yafei back in fury. Yi Yafei's miserable days had only just begun. Jun Wuxia watched what happened to Yi Yafei and Mu Yao Yao with great trepidation. As a matter of fact, she still hadn't figured out. What had she done to offend her brother? I want to see my brother. Jun Wuxia couldn't sit still anymore. She stared at Lu Yu and made her demand. Lu Yu said indifferently, Your Royal Highness, no one would dare disturb your brother at this moment. Why? Jun Wuxia pressed. Lu Yu only shrugged. She knew exactly why, but she didn't want to tell the princess. Jun Wuxia was infuriated by Lu Yu's indifference. But her anger was futile. Jun Linyuan ignored her and even his employee wouldn't follow her orders. The more Jun Wuxia thought about it, the angrier she became. She kicked the table hard. Chapter 481, The Proud Crown Prince, 24. Lu Yu didn't stop her, but only darted a glance at a waitress. The waitress then noted something down on a piece of paper. What are you doing? Jun Wuxia bellowed. What do you think you're doing? Lu Yu said innocently, Since your Royal Highness won't accept His Royal Highness's verdict and just ruin public property, we'll have to see what punishment your brother has in mind for this. Jun Wuxia yelled, How dare you? How dare you? You piece of shit. Do you have a death wish? Lu Yu shrugged. Well, I'm His Royal Highness's piece of shit and that's my honor. However, I'm afraid I don't take orders from a royal princess. Jun Wuxia was speechless. This was ridiculous. In the royal palace. The news was delivered. Empress Dugu smacked the table furiously. That's just preposterous. How can anyone be so overbearing and arrogant? And he calls himself the crown prince of the empire? The Empress was grinding her teeth when Emperor Wu sauntered in with his hands behind his back. Your Majesty, Empress Dugu began to sob as soon as she saw Emperor Wu. Tears welled up in her eyes and she looked pleasingly pitiful. Emperor Wu was surprised. What happened? Before he could ask, Empress Dugu's accusations began to fly. Your Majesty, this is ridiculous. Wuxia has somehow offended the crown prince and he won't let her come back unless a parent goes there to pick her up. Your Majesty, how can he do that? I know he doesn't like me, but does he have to do all that behind my back to my daughter? Poor Wuxia. Empress Dugu wailed, looking as pretty as a blossoming pear tree in the rain. The emperor adored his wife and he tried to indulge her as much as he could. However, when Jun Linyuan was involved, I still have a lot of memorials to go through and I think I'll have to stay up late tonight. Gosh, I'm exhausted, Emperor Wu stretched, then said to the Empress, My lady, do as you see fit with Wuxia. After that, Emperor Wu left without another word. He left just like that. Empress Dugu almost had a heart attack. She knew it. Every time she had a conflict with Jun Linyuan, Emperor Wu would stay out of it. He had to be the only emperor in history that was intimidated by his own son. Do as she saw fit? She wanted to kill Jun Linyuan. Was that possible? Granny Cheng volunteered. How about I go there and bring the princess back? Empress Dugu smirked. That won't be necessary. I'd like to see if that Jun Linyuan is bold enough to imprison my daughter. I don't believe it. Granny Cheng darted a look at the Empress, then stepped back. If the crown prince was bold enough? The Empress still hadn't learned after so many years. World Tower. Beyond World, the top floor. Lu Yu went up to the door and tapped tentatively. Jun Linyuan was talking to Feng Wu and he frowned at the interruption, but he still said, Come in. The first thing Lu Yu noticed when she entered was the fact that Feng Wu was reclining on a chaise longue, while Jun Linyuan was making some tea. Lu Yu's eyes sparkled. His Royal Highness was indeed the one doing the labor. Mr. Feng was right. Your Royal Highness, Lu Yu said with great respect. We've sent young Lord Feng back to Northern Feng Mansion. Young Master Jin Yuntao and his friends have left as well. Lu Yu was going over the details when Jun Linyuan cut her off with a wave of his hand. Give me the short version. Chapter 482, The Proud Crown Prince, 25. What? Lu Yu stole a glance at Feng Wu. If she was guessing correctly, Miss Feng Wu would love to hear all the details. Had she assumed wrong? No, Lu Yu was right. Feng Wu's eyes lit up. She tugged at Jun Linyuan's sleeve and looked up at him with pleading eyes. Your Royal Highness, I'm bored. Please let her tell the whole story. Lu Yu was eager to hear Jun Linyuan's reply. Would the stubborn, steadfast crown prince bend to this sweet girl's will? Jun Linyuan threw a dirty look at Feng Wu and said grumpily, Why are you so nosy? Please. Pretty please. Feng Wu tugged at his sleeve and pleaded in a soft voice. Jun Linyuan couldn't take it anymore and he glared at Feng Wu. Stand still. Stop squirming. All right. Feng Wu did as told. She stood at attention, but didn't let go of his sleeve. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything. He only glared at Lu Yu in resignation and prompted her. Go on. Lu Yu finally knew how Feng must feel. Someone please take away her eyes now. Growing up in the Imperial Guards, Lu Yu knew how relentless and unforgiving Jun Linyuan was. The Crown Prince never let any emotion show and he was colder than a glacier. They had speculated that maybe even his blood was ice cold. However, she couldn't believe her eyes now. Who was this guy and what had he done to his Royal Highness? Ha! What? Lu Yu's mind had wandered off and she spoke before she knew it. And her heart almost stopped when she realized what she had done. She had let her mind wander when his Royal Highness was talking to her. Oh God! She was so getting killed. Lu Yu dropped to her knees and was too nervous to breathe. Your Royal Highness, I was. Lu Yu remembered one of the girls who had come to World Tower around the same time as she had. The girl's mind wandered off when his Royal Highness was talking because she had gotten lost in his handsome face. Then, she had never seen that girl again. Lu Yu's heart almost stopped. How dare you? As expected, Jun Linyuan flared up. Please forgive me, Your Royal Highness. Lu Yu prostrated herself on the floor and trembled. Feng Wu, who was nibbling on a peach, was bewildered. Lu Yu's attention had only wandered off for like a second. What was the big deal? She had slapped Jun Linyuan herself and nothing had happened to her. Seeing that Jun Linyuan was going to lose his temper, Feng Wu finished the peach in a few bites, then went up to Jun Linyuan and tugged at his sleeve. Jun Linyuan, what are you doing? Stop yelling. You're frightening Lu Yu. Lu Yu felt like killing herself. Miss Feng Wu, you should really stay out of this. His Royal Highness doesn't listen to others when he's pissed, and sometimes, he can't even control himself. If you somehow get hurt, I'll be the one blamed for it in the end. Lu Yu really felt like crying, for she was sure that no one would be able to calm Jun Linyuan down. However, Jun Linyuan only stared at Feng Wu, and the color of his face changed. Lu Yu looked up and she nearly passed out. She saw that Feng Wu's hands were sticky wet from eating the peach, and she had now stained Jun Linyuan's sleeve with the juice. And Jun Linyuan was a neat freak. Oh God. Miss Feng Wu was so dead. His Royal Highness would throttle her. Lu Yu closed her eyes in despair. But Jun Linyuan glared at Feng Wu with a livid face, but that was all he did. Go wash your hands. Feng Wu said, fine. But she didn't go very far to do that. Chapter 483, The Proud Crown Prince, 26. She found the nearest water source and washed all the sticky juice off her hands. They were soon back to their smooth, fair state. Lu Yu took a look, and once more, she felt like passing out. OMG. Miss Feng Wu, that water was eternal sacred spring. It had cost them a small fortune to transport it all the way here from the south. Several spiritual beasts had died on the way. Moreover, they only had a small jar of it in total, and Miss Feng Wu had just washed her hands with several spoonfuls of it. His Royal Highness would be so furious. Lu Yu didn't dare look at Jun Linyuan's face. Done. Feng Wu ran back to Jun Linyuan happily and showed him her hands. Look how clean they are. You've got some nice water here. It feels spiritual and has a pleasant scent. Lu Yu vented her sarcasm inwardly. Of course it smelled nice. That was eternal sacred spring. One drop of it was worth 10,000 gold taels. And Miss Feng Wu had just washed her hands with it. What was more, His Royal Highness hadn't even tried to stop her. Jun Linyuan grunted. Right, Lu Yu was talking about what happened down there. Now, please go on. Feng Wu went up to Lu Yu and tried to help her to her feet. But Lu Yu didn't dare stand up, for His Royal Highness hadn't punished her yet. Seeing that Feng Wu wasn't able to pull Lu Yu up and almost fell over during the process, Jun Linyuan was displeased. He glared at Lu Yu. Are you waiting for me to help you now? Lu Yu broke into a cold sweat. She was waiting for her punishment, but as it turned out, His Royal Highness had forgotten about it already. Lu Yu waved her hands in a hurry. No, of course not. She finally understood what Feng had told her. Offending Miss Feng Wu was much worse than offending His Royal Highness. Lu Yu didn't expect Miss Feng Wu to be able to stop His Royal Highness from killing her that easily, and she was still finding it difficult to digest that information. She knew that Miss Feng Wu was very important to His Royal Highness, but she didn't realize that it was an understatement. Miss Lu, do tell. What happened to Yi Yafei, Mu Yaoyao, and Princess Jun Wuxia? Feng Wu asked curiously, making no attempt to hide her gossipy tone. Lu Yu was able to understand why the Crown Prince cared about Miss Feng Wu so much. She had met many noble ladies before and none of them showed their true selves in front of Jun Linyuan. They always behaved so perfectly, as if every move they made was measured by a ruler. To His Royal Highness, every last one of them was probably as pretentious as the next. None of them could be as real as Miss Feng Wu. At that thought, Lu Yu liked Feng Wu even more. Yi Yafei. Mu Yaoyao. Seeing that Feng Wu enjoyed the gossip, Lu Yu told her everything that had happened on the fifth flood. With a bag of pine nuts in her hands, Feng Wu was absorbed in Lu Yu's narration as she ate. She enjoyed the story a lot. Will Yi Yafei be punished after she gets back home? Feng Wu tilted her head and asked. Well, Lu Yu glanced at Jun Linyuan. His Royal Highness was probably the only one that could answer that question. Miss Feng Wu, do you want Yi Yafei to be punished? Of course. She insulted me, she should live with the consequences. And Mu Yaoyao, too. She has a habit of throwing mud at me. That girl has a foul mouth. Lu Yu stole a glance at Jun Linyuan and said a silent prayer for Mu Yaoyao and Yi Yafei. Those two couldn't have chosen a worse enemy than Miss Feng Wu. By the way, what about Princess Jun Wuxia? Feng Wu quickly glanced at Jun Linyuan. Chapter 484, The Proud Crown Prince, 27. No one has shown up from the royal palace yet, so the princess is still waiting on the fifth floor, but I don't think Her Royal Highness is too happy about the arrangement. Feng Wu darted another look at Jun Linyuan. She was impressed by the young crown prince. Wasn't he afraid that the Empress would give him trouble? Lu Yu then saw that His Royal Highness was eyeing her impatiently. Her stomach lurched and she withdrew from the room, leaving the young couple to themselves. Are you sure the Empress won't give you trouble for this? Feng Wu went up to Jun Linyuan and asked curiously. What trouble? Jun Linyuan looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment. Feng Wu was speechless. Just then, little Phoenix woke up with a yawn and picked up on Junling Yuan's familiar aura right away. The bead! The bead! My abnormal flame bead! Little Phoenix was so agitated that it almost banged its head against the wall. Feng Wu jolted. Shit! She had forgotten all about it. She scratched her head, feeling a little guilty. The bird burst into tears. You don't care about me. You don't care about me at all. I see that now. Wah! Feng Wu thought her head was going to explode. Of course I care about you. What? Jun Linyuan looked up and stared at her. Gosh, Feng Wu put her hands over her mouth and was shocked. Instead of talking in her head, she had blurted out her words for little Phoenix. Oh God! Did Jun Linyuan think she was confessing her love for him? It's nothing, nothing, Feng Wu waved her hands, denying it. Jun Linyuan snickered. Nothing? Did she think he was deaf? This dishonest woman. All of a sudden, the crown prince was in a great mood. Seeing Jun Linyuan's face light up, Feng Wu asked gingerly, Your Royal Highness, can I ask for a favor? Shoot! Jun Linyuan darted a contemptuous look at her. That abnormal flame bead, can I have it? Feng Wu smiled obsequiously. Seeing that Jun Linyuan was looking at her, she beamed at him. Jun Linyuan was speechless. This girl was so. You want this? He took the bead out. Yes. Yes, please. Feng Wu tried to grab it, but Jun Linyuan raised his hand over his head. Feng Wu jumped and jumped, but still couldn't reach it. She was vexed. Holding Jun Linyuan's arm with both hands, she yelled, Give it to me. Come and get it yourself. Jun Linyuan gloated. Outside, Feng stood there in silence, guarding the door. A tiny smile showed up on his face when he heard the cheerful voices inside. When was the last time His Royal Highness laughed like that? It was so good to be young, but Feng Wu didn't feel good at all. She couldn't reach the abnormal flame bead and she was exasperated. Seeing that the bead was so close but still out of reach, little Phoenix was very anxious. Feng Wu was a head shorter than Jun Linyuan and her limbs weren't as long as his either. She couldn't get to the bead no matter what. An idea then struck Feng Wu. She hopped onto Jun Linyuan and began to climb up his body. Almost there. Both Feng Wu and little Phoenix were excited. Neither of them noticed the pink color behind Jun Linyuan's ears. Just then. Jun Linyuan fell backward. Ah! Feng Wu cried out and gripped Jun Linyuan's shoulders involuntarily to stop herself from falling. Chapter 485, The Proud Crown Prince, 28. Looking down, Feng Wu realized how intimate their position was. She blushed and jumped off Jun Linyuan right away. Jun Linyuan cleared his throat. It felt very awkward. Feng Wu broke the silence first, resting her hands on her waist. She glowered at Jun Linyuan. What do I have to do to get that abnormal flame bead? Tell me. Little Phoenix was in tears. Jun Linyuan cleared his throat and resumed his haughty manner. He then sat down on the chaise lounge and played with the abnormal flame bead in his hand before glancing at Feng Wu. Did you forget what I told you last time? Last time? When was that? Feng Wu really couldn't remember. However, little Phoenix remembered everything and reminded Feng Wu, the pouch. The pouch! Oh, right, that jogged Feng Wu's memory. Jun Linyuan had given her a difficult task. He would trade the abnormal flame bead for a pouch, and he wouldn't take one of the embroidered ones her beautiful mother made, but insisted that Feng Wu had to make one herself. What kind of request was that? Feng Wu said helplessly, but I can't do embroidery, plus, my hands hurt. You're asking too much. After waking up in this body, she had learned a lot of things from her master, but needlework wasn't one of them. Then forget about the bead. Jun Linyuan looked at the abnormal flame bead and murmured indifferently, I'll consume it myself. It'll improve my cultivation. Don't. Please don't, Feng Wu grabbed his sleeve. I'll do it. all right? Jun Linyuan looked at Feng Wu and shook his head earnestly. I thought your hands hurt. Let's call if off. Feng Wu snapped, they don't hurt now. Really? Not at all. Jun Linyuan tilted his head and pondered. I'm asking too much. That's not right. Feng Wu almost burst into tears. God damn it. Was Jun Linyuan making fun of her now? Grabbing Jun Linyuan by his arm, Feng Wu shook her head repeatedly. No, it's totally fine. I love needlework, like, a lot. Trust me. Jun Linyuan glanced at her. Really? Yes. Feng Wu decided to have Chilling make one for her after she went back home. She would ask Chilling to do it, which would be like writing with her less used hand. Jun Linyuan wouldn't be able to tell the difference. However, Feng Wu was still thinking about it when the Crown Prince snapped his fingers. Feng came in with a team. Yes, a team of people. There were at least 10 of them. Each was holding an object, from threads and clothes to embroidery frames. Everything one could possibly need for needlework was there. And there were fabrics of every color and every texture. Feng Wu broke into a sweat. Look at all those things. Had he robbed an embroidery shop? It's just a pouch. What's the big deal? Jun Linyuan, are you trying to trick me? Feng Wu threw a dirty look at Jun Linyuan. If I didn't know better, it looks like you want me to embroider a screen. Jun Linyuan glanced at Feng Wu arrogantly. It's my pouch and you need to be very serious about the job. That made Feng Wu drop her original plan. She had been thinking about doing it perfunctorily at first. What about I finish it at home? Jun Linyuan snorted. Are you sure you won't have someone do it for you? Like your maid? Feng Wu was speechless. How did he know? She was going to find another excuse when Jun Linyuan pressed her down in a chair. Do it now. Chapter 486, The Proud Crown Prince, 29. Feng Wu sighed in resignation, but she didn't have any choice here. She sighed again. All right. With a long face, Feng Wu began to cut out the fabric she needed and started her needlework. Her beautiful mother always made sewing look so effortless, but when it was Feng Wu's turn, why wouldn't her stitches follow a straight line? You sew like a cripple trying to walk. Snatching the pouch out of Feng Wu's hand, Jun Linyuan took a look, then tossed it in the bin. Feng Wu cried out and tried to take it back. My pouch! She had worked so hard, and after several discarded products, this was the first one that actually looked like a pouch. And he had just thrown it away like that? Feng Wu tried to retrieve it, but Jun Linyuan raised his hand and set the entire bin on fire. Feng Wu was speechless. All she could do was glare at Jun Linyuan. The Crown Prince was awfully calm. Meeting Feng Wu's angry gaze, he casually said, well, I still think I should consume this bead myself. That was the most effective threat, no? Feng Wu glared at him. This man simply wouldn't stop threatening her. And what was worse, his threats actually worked, for they hit Feng Wu in her sore spot. She was so mad. Sitting back down grumpily, Feng Wu picked up her needle again. She had been doing the job perfunctorily and hadn't cared about the crooked stitches. All she could think of was making one that wouldn't fall apart. However, Feng Wu realized now that Jun Linyuan wouldn't let her stop until she came up with one that he was satisfied with. He would make her repeat the process until then, which would be enough to drive her crazy. Feng Wu took a deep breath and suppressed her anger. Fine, it was just a pouch. After all the things she had gone through in the past 5 years, she wasn't going to be intimidated by a pouch. Smart as Feng Wu was, when she put her mind to it, she could learn anything very fast. She focused on her needlework and in less than an hour, the pouch she made was much more presentable. The stitches weren't too fine by the standards of an expert, but they were already much better than the work of an ordinary embroidery worker. Feng Wu cheerfully showed the pouch to Jun Linyuan. Look! Isn't it pretty? See how close the stitches are? Not everyone can do that. Feng Wu bragged, but the crown prince wasn't satisfied. He gave Feng Wu an indifferent glance. It's so bleak and ugly. Make another one. Feng Wu was speechless. Right now, Feng Wu was in no position to fight back and she could only do as told. Well, it was just embroidery, not rocket science. Before long, Feng Wu showed Jun Linyuan a pouch with a few embroidered green leaves on it. The crown prince's face darkened. Is that how you see me? Like leaves in the background? Feng Wu was speechless. She had no choice but to make a new one from scratch. This time, she added a few pink flowers. Jun Linyuan's face grew darker. Do I look like I'm into flowers? Do it again. Feng Wu was speechless. This was so frustrating. But she could only swallow her anger, snatch the pouch back, and make another one. It went on and on until Feng Wu thought she was going to lose her mind. Green leaves? No. Flowers? No. Animals? No. Cartoon characters? Still no. It was outrageous. She sewed from noon to evening and was still making new pouches when the sun almost set. No. 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 Are you an idiot? What the hell is this? Make another one. Feng Wu was speechless. She couldn't take it anymore. Smack! Feng Wu threw a pouch on the table and glowered. Chapter 487, The Proud Crown Prince, 30. Nothing pleases you. What do you want? Jun Linyuan, you never planned to give me that bead, did you? You must be enjoying yourself so much, making fun of me. Jun Linyuan was sitting in a chair and Feng Wu was on her feet. Resting a hand on the back of the chair, Feng Wu bent down toward him, looking very intimidating. Pissed, Feng Wu seemed to emanate rage from head to toe, which was rather terrifying. Jun Linyuan glanced at her awkwardly, then looked away. But Feng Wu wouldn't let him. Grabbing Jun Linyuan's chin, she forced him to meet her gaze. You're doing it on purpose. You never planned to give me that bead. You're going to keep forcing me to make new ones, aren't you? Feng Wu hated being treated like a fool. The look in Jun Linyuan's eyes was almost plaintive. You don't know how to do it properly and you're blaming it on me. Feng Wu took a deep breath. I don't know how to do it properly. Can you see how many I've made? I've done my best. I've jabbed my fingers with the needle 1,000,000 times. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything. You don't like any of my designs. What exactly do you have in mind? Feng Wu fetched some pen and paper and smacked them on the table in front of Jun Linyuan. Draw it yourself. Jun Linyuan was embarrassed. No way, do it. Feng Wu stuffed the pen in Jun Linyuan's hand. I'm not going anywhere. Show me the fucking design you want on that pouch. Little Feng Wu, watch your language. Jun Linyuan was displeased. Sew 100 pouches yourself and you'll be cursing, too. Vexed, Feng Wu had forgotten all about fear or veneration. She smacked Jun Linyuan on the shoulder. Draw it. That was awesome. Lu Yu came up to the top floor at that moment and was just in time to overhear that conversation outside the door. What a conversation. She looked up at Feng in resignation. Feng shrugged. Big deal. He had gotten used to it already. His Royal Highness is capable of acting so weak. No one would believe it even if word got out. Who would? A proud person like the Crown Prince wailing? Are you kidding me? Lu Yu pinched her thigh. It hurt. This was real. With her hands on her waist, Feng Wu glared at Jun Linyuan. Draw it now or I'll think that you're putting me through hell on purpose. Jun Linyuan took a deep breath. Fine. I'll do it. What's the big deal? However, he hesitated a little before putting pen to paper. If she figured out what it was, the arrogant girl would definitely laugh at him. No one was allowed to laugh at the Crown Prince. Whoosh! With a few quick strokes, Jun Linyuan finished the drawing in no time. He tossed the pen away and stuffed the paper in Feng Wu's hand. There! What did he draw? Feng Wu unfolded the paper and was dumbfounded. What the hell was that supposed to be? A pair of some kind of bird, ducks or chickens, standing together. What are these two quails supposed to be doing? Feng Wu looked bemused. Upon her honor, she really couldn't tell if they were chickens, ducks, geese, or some other bird. So she called them quails at random. However, Jun Linyuan's face darkened suddenly and he looked pissed. The temperature in the room dropped abruptly. Feng Wu shuddered and looked at Jun Linyuan in confusion. Chapter 488, The Proud Crown Prince, 31. Face livid, Jun Linyuan glared at Feng Wu in a threatening manner. It was so terrifying. Feng Wu flinched and stepped back. Ahem. I didn't know you were into waterfowl. Well, you could have told me. It would have saved me a lot of trouble. Feng Wu took the drawing, went back to her seat and started sewing. Were they waterfowl? They kind of looked like ducks. It was said that Jun Linyuan was a great painter and that all the paintings in World Tower were his work. Feng Wu couldn't see it from the picture she was holding. She sewed two ducks on the pouch. As for the color, yellow ducks looked rather cute. And the pair were swimming side by side. Hence, Feng Wu finished the pouch in no time. She showed off her work to Jun Linyuan after it was done. Look! Aren't they prettier than the ones you drew? Jun Linyuan was still sulking. He kept hearing Feng Wu's voice in his head, quails, quails, quails. There, have a look. Feng Wu ran to the other side and insisted that Jun Linyuan look at it. Jun Linyuan glanced at the pouch. He was dazed on the spot. That horrible color, those hideous ducks, and that abominable. More importantly, he had drawn a pair of, how had they now become yellow ducks? The Crown Prince almost exploded. Jun Linyuan, I did a great job, didn't I? I think it looks great. Feng Wu gloated. Jun Linyuan didn't know what to say. He made his bed and he now had to lie in it. Your smile isn't sincere at all. I worked very hard and I jabbed my fingers with the needle 100 times. Look, Feng Wu showed Jun Linyuan her hands. Right? It hurts a lot. The least you can do is recognize my contribution. Jun Linyuan looked into Feng Wu's limpid bright eyes, which reminded him of a doe. The pleading look she gave him made him want to rub her little head. Jun Linyuan patted her on the head. Fine. Yellow ducks it is. Did His Royal Highness just give in? Lu Yu's eyes widened in surprise. Feng nodded. That was a first. Feng was looking forward to a second, a third, and a fourth. You have your pouch. Can I have the abnormal flame bead now? Feng Wu put out an open palm in front of his face. Jun Linyuan tossed her the bead, looking disgruntled. The bead had barely touched Feng Wu's hand before it disappeared. Little Phoenix swallowed it immediately, fearing that someone else might take it away. After what happened, it wasn't unsurprising that it was scared. Feng Wu let out a breath of relief. Xiao was back, and she had obtained the abnormal flame bead. The only thing she needed from Jun Linyuan now was the broken star piece. Her beautiful master. The way Feng Wu was staring at him gave the Crown Prince the creeps. What now? Feng Wu looked at him eagerly. What on earth do you want? When are you going to give me the broken star piece? Feng Wu asked in a pitiful voice. What do you need it for? Realizing that he still had something Feng Wu wanted, Jun Linyuan was back to his proud self. Of course it's for. Chapter 489, The Proud Crown Prince, 32. Of course Feng Wu wouldn't tell him the truth. Her beautiful master was her biggest secret and she wouldn't share it with anyone. I heard that, Feng Wu went on after a pause. I heard that the broken star piece can transform a person physically. Maybe I'll be able to cultivate again if I consume it. Jun Linyuan narrowed his eyes in a dangerous way and kept his gaze on Feng Wu. I mean it. It's possible. I'll have a completely different life if I can do that, right? Jun Linyuan, have some mercy. A life without cultivation is so miserable. Even people like Yi Yifei can bully me whenever they want. Ah! Her beautiful mother was as innocent as a white lotus, and after living with her for so many years, Feng Wu could imitate her perfectly. When she wanted to look like a delicate and touching beauty, she was second only to her mother. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything. Jun Linyuan, your royal highness brother Jun. Feng Wu held Jun Linyuan's arm and swayed it back and forth. Outside, Lu Yu was dumbfounded. That voice and that tone. Even a woman like herself was smitten. There was no way his royal highness, who was already in love, could resist it. Jun Linyuan was over the moon. The girl was showering him with sweet talk again. He was Brother Jun when she wanted something from him, and once she got what she needed, he was Jun Linyuan again, and she would yell at him. The crown prince decided to teach the girl a lesson. He glanced at Feng Wu. Don't use that cloying tone. Sit down and speak normally. Okay. Feng Wu stood at attention in front of Jun Linyuan and looked at him with limpid eyes, which reminded him of a puppy dog. That was irresistible. Jun Linyuan turned away and closed his eyes to straighten his face before turning back to her. He cast a stern look at Feng Wu. You want that broken star piece? Yes. Jun Linyuan grinned. At any price? Feng Wu's stomach sank. At any price? What kind of price was he talking about? She was immediately on guard. Seeing that the girl was on the alert like a frightened bunny, Jun Linyuan was greatly amused. However, he still kept his face emotionless and stared at her with brooding eyes. Feng Wu said, what kind of price are you talking about? Imperial College is recruiting students. The broken star piece is yours if you can get in. And I can open the box for you. Jun Linyuan raised an eyebrow. Get into Imperial College? Did she have to expose her cultivation ability now? What if I don't want to go to Imperial College? Feng Wu gritted her teeth, is that so? Jun Linyuan said arrogantly. Well, then I guess I'll have to consume it myself. How dare you? Feng Wu bellowed. That was the only way to save her master. I'll kill you if you do that. Feng Wu's eyes were bloodshot red and she screamed at Jun Linyuan like a mad person. Jun Linyuan was surprised. That was kind of overreacting, wasn't it? Jun Linyuan narrowed his eyes and studied Feng Wu's face. Feng Wu had calmed down already. To cover up her agitation, she cleared her throat. That's my only chance to recover my ability. You can't do that. I mean it. This is not the only broken star piece in the world. You can always find a second one. What's so special about it? Jun Linyuan gave Feng Wu a sidelong glance. Chapter 490, The Proud Crown Prince, 33. Feng Wu was inwardly ecstatic. A second broken star piece. Jun Linyuan had to know where that second piece was. OMG! Feng Wu almost burst into tears. She rushed to Jun Linyuan's side and grabbed his collar. She couldn't hide the excitement in her voice. You know where the second piece is, don't you? Tell me. Where is it? The look in Jun Linyuan's eyes was even more brooding. That agitation didn't fit her usual behavior at all. The broken star piece. Jun Linyuan snorted. You're thinking of the second piece before even getting the first one. Feng Wu ground her teeth. Imperial College, is it? Fine, I'll do it. Give me the broken star piece after I get in. You'll also open the box for me and tell me where to find the second piece. Jun Linyuan darted a look at Feng Wu. There's no also. I only agree to the first part. Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu glared at him. Jun Linyuan raised his chin and smirked in satisfaction. Feng Wu had no choice but to pick up his sleeve again. Brother Jun, brother Jun, brother Jun. I told you, enough with the cloying tone. Jun Linyuan threw a dirty look at Feng Wu and snapped, fine, fine. I'll tell you where to find the second piece. Don't you feel ashamed, talking to guys like that? Outside, Feng rubbed his nose in resignation. His Royal Highness was getting more and more dishonest these days. Feng Wu ignored Jun Linyuan's reprimand. She had gotten used to his lousy temperament by now. Once the deal was set, Feng Wu waved goodbye at Jun Linyuan and promptly left World Tower. Before Jun Linyuan knew it, Feng Wu was out of sight. Shit, the Crown Prince pointed in the direction Feng Wu left in. She left? Just like that? She didn't even flinch. Feng looked up at the sky in resignation. You're the one telling her off and you're the one who misses her as soon as she's gone. Your Royal Highness, how self-contradictory can you be? Feng Wu was back at the Feng Manor. Sister. Feng Xiaoqi ran up to her happily. Seeing Feng Xiaoqi's rosy cheeks, Feng Wu patted him on the head. How's your cultivation coming along? Because of Feng Xiaoqi's ultimate spiritual body, Feng Wu had given him ultimate spiritual divine power to work with. She had a hunch that Xiaoqi would progress as quickly as she had. Sister, my cultivation is so efficient that it feels like flying. Feng Xiaoqi was elated. I reached level 3 this morning and I thought I would make progress again just now, but what? Tell me if you run into any problems, or I won't know how to help you. You're the man of our family, and both Mum and I will need your protection in the future. Feng Wu patted Feng Xiaoqi's head, motivating him with his future responsibility. Feng Xiaoqi was exhausted from cultivation, but he glowed with excitement when he heard those words. Sister, don't worry. I'll protect all of you. Feng Wu asked, so, what seems to be the problem? I ran out of spiritual energy. Feng Xiaoqi's pretty face wrinkled and he looked up at Feng Wu. Sister, that spiritual stone you gave me this morning.